Chapter 1169, Fear. Oh, Chapter 1169, Fear. The spectral image of the red-haired cold elder appeared in the world. It was only a spectral image of consciousness, but it still carried the power enough to destroy this entire ancient world. Seeing the red-haired cold elder, many surrounding warriors trembled and could not help but feel a feeling of worship. It was like seeing a real god. In fact, with his strength, the red-haired cold elder did hold a godlike position in the ancient world. Master! Kong Ming was elated and started to regain his confidence. So what if you're a Tao Master? My master is the famous Tao Master Blood Tusk in the eternal world. Kong Ming scorned Jian Wushuang in his heart. Tao Master Blood Tusk. Jian Wushuang smiled strangely. He heard of Tao Master Blood Tusk. He was a Tao Master at the peak of rank 2 and was indeed a strong expert even on Void Continent. Moreover, he was said to be a protege of Ape Holy Master. With a benefactor like that, he really had a good reason to look down the entire Void Continent experts. Is it you that wants to kill my disciple? The consciousness spectral image of Tao Master Blood Tusk looked at Jian Wushuang. Yes, it's me. What do you propose? Jian Wushuang smirked. Do you want to stop me by a spectral image of consciousness? Well, I can't really. But mark my words, if you dare to touch my disciple, I'll guarantee that on the entire Void Continent, there'll be no place for you. Tao Master Blood Tusk warned in a cold tone. Oh. Jian Wushuang cocked an eyebrow and laughed. You really can talk, but I don't know where such confidence came from, just because Ape Holy Master is backing you. Do you know Ape Holy Master? Tao Master Blood Tusk immediately frowned. Ape Holy Master was the absolute overlord of Void Continent and the monarch of North Sea Kingdom of the 4 big countries. He had both strength and influence. On Void Continent, almost no one dared to mess with him. But now, the scarlet-robed young man who knew Ape Holy Master was backing him still looked confident, as if he did not take Ape Holy Master seriously. Kid, who are you? Tao Master Blood Tusk glared at Jian Wushuang. I am just an ordinary person from the ancient world. I have just entered the eternal world about 2,000 years ago. As for my name, I am afraid it'll disturb you. Jian Wushuang smiled. Disturb me? Tao Master Blood Tusk was disdainful. Master, this person is called Jian Wushuang, and he has only been in the eternal world for 2,000 years. I do not know how he got to be a Tao Master. Kong Ming added. However, hearing Kong Ming, Tao Master Blood Tusk's consciousness spectral image froze on the spot. His originally cold face turned into a shocked one, with terror in his eyes. What is his name again? Tao Master Blood Tusk teeth chattered from fear. His name is Jian Wushuang. What's the matter? Kong Ming was in doubt. Hearing Kong Ming confirmed, Tao Master Blood Tusk was awestruck and dazed. Jian Wushuang, among the top powerhouses on Void Continent, how many of them did not know Jian Wushuang? Although he had never seen him, he had heard Jian Wushuang numerous times from Ape Holy Master and many other Tao Masters. He actually had been a headache and a monster in Ape Holy Master's eyes. And now he told the monster that he would leave him no place on Void Continent. Had he really said that? Master Jian Wushuang. Tao Master Blood Tusk spoke again, but this time his voice trembled. His words left the whole battlefield in chaos. And Kong Ming was completely stunned. His master Tao Master Blood Tusk actually called him master after hearing his name. Didn't you call the opponent master only when the opponent was too strong to be messed with? Could it be that this Jian Wushuang, who had only been in the eternal world for 2,000 years, made his master Tao, Master Blood Tusk, scared? Moon Queen Lan, as well as many disciples of the Wushuang Sword Pavilion, were stunned. Although they did not know how strong Tao Master Blood Tusk was, they knew that Kong Ming was already formidable, and his master must be even more mighty. But the very Tao Master Blood Tusk actually became so scared after hearing Jian Wushuang's name. In 2,000 years, what had Jian Wushuang gone through? What level had he reached? Tao Master Blood Tusk. Jian Wushuang spoke, and the voice was still bland. I'll take your disciple's life. No problem. Tao Master Blood Tusk answered. This damn thing has actually offended you. He deserves to die. Even if you don't do it, I will personally kill him when we return to the eternal world. Master, Kong Ming's eyes widened and he looked shocked. His master had always been looking for the disciples, but now he did not hesitate to throw him away. Obviously, his master was terrified of the Tao master called Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang squinted, and the immaterial sword essence that had been suspended in the void once again plucked. This time, it directly shot into Kong Ming's head, crushed his life core. Kong Ming died on the spot. This scene made Spirit Palace Master tremble and dare not to move. As for you, Jian Wushuang peeked at Tao Master Blood Tusk's consciousness spectral image and muttered, "You'd better stay in the place where you live now, and it's best not to tell anyone about it today. I have already reported it to Ape, Holy Master." Tao Master Blood Tusk was horrified. Oh, just him? Jian Wushuang looked cold. Yes, just him. Tao Master Blood Tusk nodded quickly. All right, off you go. Jian Wushuang waved. Master, so today, Tao Master Blood Tusk carefully looked at Jian Wushuang. I'll let it go. Jian Wushuang answered. Thank you, Master. Tao Master Blood Tusk felt relieved and bowed respectfully. Then his consciousness spectral image disappeared in the void. Jian Wushuang looked in the direction where Tao Master Blood Tusk vanished. Tao Master Blood Tusk did not know that even if Jian Wushuang let him off, that did not mean others would not. Chapter 1170, Helpless Ape Holy Master. Chapter 1170, Helpless Ape Holy Master. Chapter 1170, Helpless Ape Holy Master. The news that Jian Wushuang was still alive was a top secret. Only 5 palace masters knew it. Now, Tao Master Blood Tusk and Ape Holy Master knew it. One could imagine what would happen next. Deep in a stretch of mountains, there was a huge blood-red castle. This blood-colored castle was where Tao Master Blood Tusk lived. In the deepest part of the castle, Tao Master Blood Tusk was leaning on the bed. Get out, all of you! Tao Master Blood Tusk's growl rang throughout the castle. The maids who were serving and the beautiful dancers in front of him all withdrew. Tao Master Blood Tusk rose up and looked terrible. Idiot! I shouldn't have accepted him as my disciples. He used to be careless. Being hunted down by his enemies, he fled to the ancient world. I managed to get rid of the enemy for him. He'll only need some time to recover and then return to Green Fire World. I did not expect this idiot actually went to mess with Jian Wushuang. How could he mess with Jian Wushuang? Not even Ape Holy Master dares to confront him. Jian Wushuang can kill me so easily. Being in the eternal realm, why did he mess with Jian Wushuang? Idiot, really stupid. Tao Master Blood Tusk madly cursed. Although Kong Ming was dead, Tao Master Blood Tusk still wanted to resurrect him, in order to kill him with cruel means. It was really a formidable person that he had offended this time. After a long time, Tao Master Blood Tusk gradually calmed down. Fortunately, Jian Wushuang was nice. I bowed and apodized. He just let me off. Otherwise, Tao Master Blood Tusk could not help feeling fearful. If Jian Wushuang really wanted him dead, then he would stand no place of surviving in Greenfire World. Anyway, I'm still alive. Tao Master Blood Tusk let out a sigh of relief. But at this time, what? Tao Master Blood Tusk sensed something. He noticed that two auras had entered his castle, and in a moment they appeared in front of him. They were a man and a woman, and their auras were very energetic, which both reached the rank 3 Tao Master level. Master Yen and Master Ku, what brings you two here? Tao Master Blood Tusk immediately got up and greeted. Among the 18 masters of Void Temple, he could not afford to offend any of them. Naturally, he greeted respectfully. Tao Master Blood Tusk, we're here under Temple Master's orders to kill you. Master Ku said directly. What? Tao Master Blood Tusk was greatly shocked and exclaimed, to kill me? How is this possible? I have never offended the Void Temple. How will the Void Temple Master order to kill me? Have you mistaken? Temple Master issued the order himself. We couldn't have made a mistake. Now prepare to die. Master Ku's voice was cold, and the next moment he struck directly. No, it's impossible. How can he want me dead for no reason? Tao Master Blood Tusk resisted as he screamed wildly. I'll report it to Ape, Holy Master. Ape, Holy Master will help me. Ape, Holy Master? Master Ku laughed. He can hardly protect himself now. How can he manage to help you? Master Ku and Master Yen had prepared for a long time. Before they started, they laid a restriction around the castle so that Tao Master Blood Tusk had no way to escape. Even the message could not be transmitted again. Only for a moment, Tao Master Blood Tusk was killed. On the other side, in the distant North Sea Kingdom, Ape, Holy Master was alone in the secret room, cultivating a secret skill. Suddenly, a figure came, and at the same time, an immaterial power had covered the entire secret room to stop any message from going out. Void Temple Master. Ape, Holy Master, looked at the person who appeared in front of him in surprise. The Supreme Void Temple Master on Void Continent, one of Greenfire Palace Masters, actually appeared in front of him in the flesh. Void Temple Master. Ape, Holy Master immediately respectfully saluted. What brings you here? Ape, Holy Master, is Tao Master Blood Tusk your protégés? Void Temple Master sounded indifferent. Yes, he is. Ape, Holy Master, nodded subconsciously. Not long ago, did this Tao Master Blood Tusk send a message to you? Void Temple Master asked again. Yes, he did. Ape, Holy Master, nodded again. He told me that in the ancient world, he saw Jian Wushuang. That's right. Void Temple Master's eyes became cold. Temple Master, what's wrong? Ape, Holy Master was in doubt. This secret room is already protected. I might as well tell you that he's already capable to be a Greenfire Palace Master. And he has a great potential. He will definitely become the Greenfire Palace leader. Void Temple Master commented. Become a leader? Jian Wushuang? Ape, Holy Master, widened his eyes. Being a Holy Master and a member of the Greenfire Palace, though he did not live in the Greenfire Palace and was not kept posted, he knew that the leaders of Greenfire Palace were all formidable. He had met with Jian Wushuang and even bore hostility toward him. But the hostility only came from the battle between North Sea Kingdom and Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land. It was nothing personal. He also acknowledged Jian Wushuang's talent. When the three big countries joined forces to attack Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land, Jian Wushuang came to their rescue. But he never expected that Jian Wushuang had grown so much in such a short time. He was talented, thus the Jin kingdom has tried to assassinate him at all costs, and in that assassination he was dead, said Void Temple Master. Dead, but Ape, Holy Master froze and looked up at Void Temple Master. He had guessed why Void Temple Master came to him in person. I think you should already understand. Void Temple Master looked down. His survival is a top secret, even in Green Fire Palace. Only palace masters know about it. But now, you learn the secret. Ape, Holy Master was feeling helpless. He never wanted to learn it, though. It was Dao Master Blood Tusk that told him the secret. Dao Master Blood Tusk has been killed. Well, you're one of our Green Fire Palace and a valuable soldier. I won't kill you, but it can't let you stay on Void Continent anymore. So, until Jian Wushuang becomes the leader of the Green Fire Palace to deal with the Jin Kingdom, you have to stay in my Oblivion Palace. Chapter 1171, Return to Star Island. Chapter 1171, Return to Star Island. When his words were finished, he did not give Ape Holy Master any chance to resist. With a flick of his hand, a great palace fell on Ape Holy Master. Ape Holy Master looked helpless, and he did not want to resist. He knew very well that since Void Temple Master struck, his resistance would be futile, and if Void Temple Master did not kill him, he was being merciful. Blood Tusk, goddamn Blood Tusk, why did you send messages to me? Ape Holy Master cursed in his heart. In the end, he was suppressed by the Great Palace. During the following years, until the Jin Kingdom knew Jian Wushuang's survival, Ape Holy Master had to live in the palace. After suppressing Ape Holy Master, Void Temple Master once again disappeared. At the same time, Jian Wushuang learned the news that Dao Master Blood Tusk was killed, and Ape Holy Master was suppressed by Void Temple Master. Oh, poor Ape Holy Master. He did not do anything, but still became imprisoned just because I am still alive. Jian Wushuang stood at the top of an attic, contemplating. At this time, Lin Lan came in. Master. Lin Lan directly crouched in front of Jian Wushuang and bowed respectfully. Get up. Jian Wushuang waved, and a strength lifted Lin Lan up. You've really grown in the last 2,000 years. You actually became Queen Lanua. Jian Wushuang smiled. It's all because of you, my master. Lin Lan respectfully said. When Jian Wushuang left the ancient world, he granted her a lot of swordsmanships, manuals, and treasures. In the end, she reached the peak by them. I did give you some things at the beginning, but you've achieved this all by yourself. Jian Wushuang waved. In addition, your strength is really rare in this ancient world, but if you put it in the eternal world, it's nothing. In the end, the ancient world is still too small, too small. In a few days, I will return to the eternal world. If you are willing to, I will take you there. Jian Wushuang looked into Lin Lan's eyes. I'm willing to. Lin Lan was pleasantly surprised. That's good. I will give you 10 days to let you deal with affairs of Wushuang's Sword Pavilion and the ancient world. 10 days later, we'll set off. Jian Wushuang said. Yes. Lin Lan heavily nodded and went to arrange affairs of Wushuang Sword Pavilion. On the other hand, Jian Wushuang got to travel around the Divine Land. It had been 2,000 years. Things had changed. On Divine Land today, he could hardly find an acquaintance. Naturally, there was no one for him to visit. He just visited some places he used to be familiar with. 10 days passed quickly. In these 10 days, Lin Lan disbanded Wushuang Sword Pavilion. After all, she built Wushuang Sword Pavilion. The fight with Spirit Palace inflicted great damage on them. If she left, the pavilion would soon be dismembered by other sects and forces. In this case, she simply disbanded Wushuang's sword pavilion and distributed all the treasures that she had accumulated so that the disciples could have their own way out in the future. All right, let's go. Jian Wushuang single-handedly strove to break the void and then took Lin Lan into the Green Fire World. When he returned to Green Fire World again, Jian Wushuang took Lin Lan to Ancient Sect and visited Xian Yi. Master, this is the disciple I received in the Ancient World more than 2,000 years ago. Her name is Lin Lan. I want to accommodate her here, and I hope that you can take care of her, said Jian Wushuang. Your disciple? Isn't that my disciple's disciple? Xian Yi smiled gently and looked at Lin Lan. Lin Lan, greet your grandmaster. Lin Lan respectfully said. Well, her talent and potential seem pretty good. It's a shame that there wasn't a suitable platform in the ancient world, but it is different in the eternal world. You can rest assured, I'll take care of this little girl. Soon, the Firmament Territory Feast will be held again. I'll bring her, Xian Yi said. Thank you, my master, Jian Wushuang replied. Having accommodated Lin Lan, Jian Wushuang bid farewell to Xian Yi and then left the Firmament Territory again. Having visited the ancient world, Jian Wushuang went to the Stellar Fog Sea. The Stellar Fog Sea on Void Continent had long been a mystery. Not even the many experts in Green Fire Palace, including the 5 palace masters, knew what was in the Stellar Fog Sea. But Jian Wushuang knew very clearly. The Stellar Fog Sea was actually a place for the Star Bloodline to choose disciples. Through the space wormhole of the Void Temple, Jian Wushuang quickly arrived at the edge of the Stellar Fog Sea. He did not hesitate and directly entered it. He saw a vast gray fog, which not only blocked one's view, but also stopped snooping from others. But Jian Wushuang's strength of soul had not been hindered. Jian Wushuang had been a disciple of the Star Bloodline. As soon as he entered the Stellar Fog Sea, Lord Spirit Sound on Star Island noticed him. Different from other Green Fire World Dao Masters who would be blocked outside, Jian Wushuang was not hindered and directly entered deep into the Stellar Fog Sea. It didn't take long for him to approach the central Star Island of the Stellar Fog Sea. On Star Island, there were still a lot of warriors. Friends like Ling Long, Qian Yu, Zidong, and Dao Master Kongming, who had an agreement with Jian Wushuang, stayed there as well. Swoosh! When Jian Wushuang appeared on Star Island, and his aura came out, the broad Star Island suddenly shook. A Dao Master aura. Did someone on the Star Island break through to the Dao Master level? No, although there are many people on the Star Island who are able to break through, they all suppress themselves. No one is willing to do it. It should be a newcomer, a new Dao Master. A group of people rushed, including the 5 Dao Masters standing on the top of the Star Island. They were all alarmed and rushed over. When they stopped in front of Jian Wushuang, saw his face, they immediately recognized him. It's Blood Mountain. Is the Blood Mountain that left the island more than 1,000 years ago. He actually came back. Chapter 1172, Hope. Chapter 1172, Hope. Blood Mountain. When Jian Wushuang lived on the Star Island, he used the pseudonym Blood Mountain. Blood Mountain. His 3 friends, Ling Long, Zidong, and Qian Yu were all present. All of you, I haven't seen you in ages. You're doing all right? Jian Wushuang smiled. Blood Mountain, I knew you will come back. You came to take us away, right? Qian Yu sounded excited. Well, I plan to, but I don't know if I can. Jian Wushuang replied. Blood Mountain, you've grown stronger than before, right? Zidong's eyes flashed with excitement. There had been 12 kings on the island, among whom Zidong always ranked the first, and he was the only one that passed the second test of the 3 tests of the Black Tower. Later, Jian Wushuang became the first one to pass 3 tests and left the Star Island. However, Zidong was still stuck in the level 2. Zidong naturally felt a little disheartened. Your strength must have improved and can pass the 3rd test, right? Jian Wushuang smiled. I am still far away from that. Zidong shrugged. Jian Wushuang spent some time chatting with his 3 friends. Blood Mountain. A deep voice rang, and a middle-aged man wearing a cyan gown and a stubble came over. Oh, Dao Master Kong Ming? Jian Wushuang grinned. Dao Master Kong Ming stopped in front of Jian Wushuang and looked him up and down. Finally, he nodded slightly and said, My agreement with you is that you return to this Star Island within 100,000 years. But now it has been less than 2,000 years, and you already returned. Have you already obtained the strength to overcome the ultimate test? I can't know for sure, but I can try. Jian Wushuang said. He didn't know what the ultimate test was, and naturally, he didn't dare to guarantee. Oh, Dao Master Kong Ming cocked an eyebrow. It looks like you're quite confident. You might say so. Jian Wushuang smiled and nodded. If he was not confident, he would not have come to the Star Island so soon. However, just as Jian Wushuang finished, since my friend is so confident, I wonder if I can have a friendly competition with you. A gentle voice suddenly sounded. It was an old man in a gray robe. Standing next to him were 3 people whose aura had reached the level of Dao Master. The 5 Dao Masters on the Star Island were all present. This is Jian Wushuang looked at the gray-robed elder. This is Dao Master Thousand Water, who is the oldest and the most capable of the 5 Dao Masters on our Star Island. Dao Master Kong Ming introduced. Oh, Jian Wushuang cocked one eyebrow. Indeed, I'm the strongest of the 5. However, I'm still not qualified for the ultimate test yet. The gray-robed Elder Thousand Water Dao said, Since my friend aims at the ultimate test, then you have to be stronger than me in strength. I wonder if you're capable enough. Since Dao Master Thousand Water is interested, then it'll be disrespectful to decline, please. Jian Wushuang smiled in reply. My friend, be careful. Dao Master Thousand Water reminded, and then a strong spiritual power surging on him. The pure power was far more powerful than an ordinary rank 3 peak Dao Masters. However, he still failed to compare with a holy master. Under the surging mighty spiritual power, Dao Master Thousand Water stretched to slap Jian Wushuang lightning fast. In an instant, a vast mountain aimed directly at Jian Wushuang. The power had definitely reached the level of Holy Master. He's only a Dao Master, but has the strength of a Holy Master. Dao Master Thousand Water is not weak. Jian Wushuang faintly smiled, and when the majestic mountain was about to hit him, he slowly stretched and gently stroked. It was such a casual and slow stroke that it seemed not to contain even the slightest power. But the majestic mountain had already been torn apart. A lot of spiritual power rushed around. Dao Master Thousand Water's eyes narrowed. A sword light had already penetrated his body directly. Clang! His body quickly returned to normal. He stood there, staring at Jian Wushuang, with a hint of horror. The people around watching the battle were also wearing an incredible expression. Dao Master Thousand Water had let out all his strength, and Jian Wushuang just stroked to beat him without even drawing his sword. The special part about the Star Island was that you would not die here, otherwise Dao Master Thousand Water would have been dead. Was there such a gap between them? Dao Master Thousand Water, thank you. Jian Wushuang was smiling. Hope, you're our hope to pass the ultimate test. The old Tao Master Thousand Water trembled. Though defeated by Jian Wushuang, he was not angry and was actually extremely happy. Everyone watching the battle had become fanatical. Jian Wushuang had come to challenge the ultimate test on the Star Island. The stronger he was, the greater chance they had. Now that he had beaten Tao Master Thousand Water so easily, they all recognized his strength. Jian Wushuang was definitely promising to pass the ultimate test. Great, great. After so many years, have we finally seen a glimmer of hope? This Blood Mountain is definitely promising to pass the ultimate test and control the entire Star Island. In time, he can release us all if he'd like. Everyone on the Star Island was excited. Blood Mountain! An indifferent voice sounded. Everyone turned their heads and saw a beautiful and enchanting red-robed woman standing in the void. The people on the Star Island all looked in awe. Lord Spirit Sound. Jian Wushuang smiled. Come with me. Lord Spirit Sound finished her words, then turned around and left. Jian Wushuang immediately followed. Not long after, he followed Lord Spirit Sound into a palace. Sit down. Lord Spirit Sound waved, and Jian Wushuang sat down beside the table. I didn't expect this. In less than 2,000 years, you have already broken through to reach the Tao Master level and returned to the Star Island. You're fast enough. Lord Spirit Sound looked very surprised. It's just good luck. Jian Wushuang laughed modestly. It doesn't take good luck to break through to the Tao Master level, not to mention you're an inverse cultivator. Lord Spirit Sound said calmly, Well, where's Gu King? Let it out. I really want to see what that old guy becomes after following you. Jian Wushuang urged, and immediately Gu King transformed into a plenilune worm beast and climbed out of him. Chapter 1173, The Ultimate Test. Chapter 1173, The Ultimate Test. Ha! Gu King, I've hardly seen you like this. Seeing Gu King, who climbed out of Jian Wushuang, Lord Spirit Sound couldn't help but laugh. When Gu King was in the stellar fog sea, it was a real behemoth, big enough for anyone to look up to. But now, humph! Gu King snorted, but did not want to say anything else. Lord Spirit Sound shrugged and looked at Jian Wushuang. Blood Mountain, have you ever met the disciple who left Star Island 4,000,000 years ago when you were outside? You mean Star King? Jian Wushuang looked regretful and immediately shook his head. I have never encountered any expert named Star King in these years in the Greenfire world, and I have had people check, but in vain. In the long history of Star Island in the Greenfire world, only 2 people had left the Star Island. One was Jian Wushuang, and the other was Star King. The Star King passed the test 4,000,000 years ago and left the Star Island. When Jian Wushuang stayed in the Greenfire world, he had people checked, but there was no one named Star King. Since Star King can survive the test on the Star Island, he must be a true top genius. But if such a genius did not gain any reputation in the Greenfire world, he must have died a long time ago, or had left the Greenfire world. Jian Wushuang speculated. In the Greenfire world, there were indeed many experts who, in order to pursue a higher level of strength, chose to enter the eternal chaotic world once they broke through to the Tao Master level. Is that so? Lord Spirit Sound nodded slightly, but immediately smiled. Forget it. Blood Mountain, you return to Star Island this time for the ultimate test, but the ultimate test can be extraordinary. After a pause, Lord Spirit Sound continued. The ultimate test on our Star Island is invented for holy masters. Although you are only a Tao Master, as an inverse cultivator, You are indeed qualified to be tested, but this is only the first step. I'm afraid you can pass it easily. I know it isn't easy, but I have to try anyway. Jian Wushuang comforted her. Okay, I will take you there now. Lord Spirit Sound got up. Under the guidance of her, Jian Wushuang soon came to the center of the Star Island, where 4 tall black towers stood. The 4 black towers represented the 4 levels of test, and the tallest one in the last was the ultimate test on the Star Island. At the moment before the black tower, it was already packed with people. All the warriors trapped on the Star Island have gathered here. They knew that Jian Wushuang had returned for the ultimate test, so they all waited here full of expectations. He's here, Blood Mountain is here. Blood Mountain. When Jian Wushuang showed up, the crowd immediately clamored around him, and their eyes were extremely keen. They're really passionate, aren't they? Jian Wushuang cocked one eyebrow. These people have seen hope in you. They hope that you can overcome this ultimate test and take them away. Of course, they're passionate about you. Lord Spirit Sound smiled. Well, the ultimate test is there. Off you go. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded to himself and took a deep breath. Then he immediately entered the Black Tower, where the ultimate test was under the eyes of those warriors. Once in the Black Tower, Jian Wushuang found himself in a dark void. This dark void was boundless. Even with his soul power, he failed to sense the perimeter of it. Such a vast void was big enough for universe masters to fight freely. In the center of this dark void, a burly figure with a huge axe stood. Is he my opponent in this ultimate test? Jian Wushuang stayed vigilant and tried to make out the burly figure in the dark. That burly figure possessed no aura at all. He was just a puppet fighter. Before taking the test, he asked Lord Spirit Sound about it. He knew that this ultimate test was different from those of the other 3 Black Towers. Other tests were divided into 3 stages, but the ultimate test had only 1 stage and 1 opponent. The opponent must be the puppet fighter carrying a huge axe in front of him. When Jian Wushuang entered this dark void, the calm figure stood in the dark, opened his eyes suddenly. His eyes were in a strange golden color, and the moment he opened them, a horrible killing intent immediately vented, causing the surrounding void to tremble. All you have to do is beat me. The burly man with a huge axe opened his mouth, and his voice was cold. Defeat this puppet fighter, and I'll pass the test. The process is simple, but I'm afraid it won't be that easy. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly, and Blood Mountain Sword was already in his hands. Let's start this. The burly man stared at Jian Wushuang, and his eyes flashed with killing intent. Boom! The void under the burly man's feet immediately collapsed, and then he approached Jian Wushuang like a flowing light. So fast, Jian Wushuang squinted. His speed was definitely much faster than the usual universe masters. At the moment when the burly man moved, he was holding the huge axe that had been on his back. The burly man clasped the giant axe, which was glaring with dazzling golden light, vast powers condensed. Without too many tricks, he directly brandished it at Jian Wushuang. At that moment, a beautiful blood-red halo broke out. Standing in front of the huge axe, Jian Wushuang felt it was like a savage beast. The prevailing power in the huge axe made his heart jerk. Humph! Jian Wushuang grunted. The soul fire in the sea of consciousness trembled slightly, and then the soul power swept out, forming a sharp soul spike. The spike flicked toward the burly man and penetrated his body. However, the burly man just paused. Soon, he struck his giant axe again. How could he not be affected by my soul attack? Jian Wushuang was shocked. He surged this strength throughout his arms. Finally, the strength all gathered in Blood Mountain Sword. Heaven's Bane. Jian Wushuang looked vicious. He had tried his best to display his most powerful stroke, Heaven's Bane. Bam! There was a fierce explosion in the void. Jian Wushuang tried hard to contain himself. The void under his feet was shattered like scraps of paper. The burly man pulled back the giant axe lightning fast, and the next moment he struck again. Chapter 1174. Failure. Chapter 1174. Failure. The power of the first axe had just been displayed, and the burly man wielded his axe toward Jian Wushuang again, immediately. It was overwhelming as well, and left no chance for Jian Wushuang to breathe. The move, Heaven's Bane, Jian Wushuang had just executed barely withstood the burly man's first blow. When his axe hacked toward him again, he only had the time to hold the Blood Mountain Sword across his chest. Bang! A loud noise rang out, accompanied by a muffled snort let out by Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang flew backwards due to the impact. He continually rolled during the process and managed to regain his balance after quite a while. The burly man stood in the dark void. He put the giant axe behind him, and his eyes closed again. I'm defeated. Jian Wushuang looked up at the burly man in front of him, but he still felt unbelievable. He knew the ultimate test of Star Island was extremely difficult, but he did not expect it to be so tough. It was aimed at celestial masters, but he actually possessed the genuine battle strength of a universe master. As a result, he failed to resist the 2 blows from that burly man. Although it's a test that is designed for celestial masters, apparently, ordinary universe masters cannot pass it. Anyone who wants to pass it must possess the battle strength at the peak of universe master level. Jian Wushuang thought secretly. After a brief confrontation, he had a general understanding of the strength of this puppet fighter. The puppet fighter must have reached the peak of universe master level and be no weaker than Red Snow King, who had pursued him on the battlefield. Let a celestial master defeat a peak universe master? Jian Wushuang gasped in shock. At the same time, he secretly admired. It is worthy of being the test set by the founder of the Star Bloodline. It's really demanding. It seems that it's impossible for ordinary geniuses to pass this test and join the Star Palace. The Star Bloodline only selected 2 kinds of disciples. The first type were ordinary disciples who just needed to pass the test of a black tower. Jian Wushuang and Star King were now merely ordinary disciples. The second type were disciples of the Star Palace. Anyone who wanted to be this type was required to pass the ultimate test. What Jian Wushuang did not know was that the Star Bloodline was also an overlord in the eternal chaotic world. Members of the Star Bloodline who were able to join the Star Palace were extremely rare. If ordinary geniuses could join the Star Palace, its disciples could be seen everywhere on the street. My current strength barely reaches the universe master level. There is still a long way to go before it reaches the peak of universe master level. I assume it would be unrealistic to pass the ultimate test anytime soon. Jian Wushuang shook his head and then left there. Many warriors who had been trapped on Star Island were waiting outside the Black Tower with a look of strong desire and expectation. They had been trapped on this island for so long that they were anxious to go out. At this point, Jian Wushuang walked out of the Black Tower. He is coming out. Haven't he just entered it? Why did he come out so soon? Did he pass the ultimate test? A large number of warriors swarmed forward. Blood Mountain! Blood Mountain! Ling Long, Qian Yu, Zidong, Dao Master Kong Ming, and Dao Master Thousand Water were foremost among the warriors. They looked at Jian Wushuang with eyes filled with anticipation. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Jian Wushuang said apologetically. Upon hearing this, the expressions of the warriors on the scene all altered. After all, it's the ultimate test of Star Island. Therefore, it's not so easy to get through. Dao Master Thousand Water said first in a resonant voice. Everybody, we mustn't be too hasty. Take our time. Blood Mountain, you didn't get through the ultimate test this time, but I believe you must have witnessed its difficulty. You have any confidence? Dao Master Thousand Water asked. Confidence? Jian Wushuang froze. Looking at so many expectant faces, he couldn't help but take a deep breath and said solemnly, yes, of course. Although the ultimate test is extremely difficult, I still have a way to pass it. However, it takes some time. Haha, great. As for time, anyway, we've been trapped here for so long and don't care about it. How long do you need? 10,000 years? 100,000 years? Dao Master Thousand Water asked repeatedly. I don't know. Jian Wushuang shook his head, but I'll try my best at any rate. Hearing that, Dao Master Thousand Water and other people exchanged glances. Later, he said, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just do your best. Sometimes, the more pressure, the less progress. Everybody, let's go. Blood Mountain, you just need to work hard. If there is anything we can help, don't hesitate to let us know. Inform us the next time you're ready for the ultimate test. After finishing speaking that, he left directly. The warriors on Star Island departed as well. While they were leaving, Jian Wushuang could clearly see the disappointment in their eyes. However, he was unable to do anything with that. He couldn't make any promise except for doing his utmost. After everyone had left, Blood Mountain, are you sure you'll pass the ultimate test? Qianyu, Jian Wushuang's friend, asked seriously. I'm kind of confident about that. Jian Wushuang nodded. He was indeed confident. Although the ultimate test was incredibly difficult, he still had a little bit of confidence in his ability. The battle strength at the peak of universe master level. My strength is really far behind that level, but I can reach it as long as time allows. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists. There was enough room for the improvement of his current strength. His sword principles, only one of them reached the most powerful level. As for the speed sword principle and Yin sword principle, they were still at the creation level. He could still upgrade them. As long as one of them reached the most powerful level, his strength would naturally skyrocket. In addition, his ancient god power already reached the 3-star peak. He reckoned that it wouldn't be long before his strength broke through to the 4-star ancient god level. Once his strength reached that level, his power would increase by leaps and bounds. Naturally, his overall strength would follow suit. Currently, I only need to upgrade either the speed sword principle or the Yin sword principle to the most powerful level and improve my ancient god power so that it breaks through to the 4-star ancient god level. In this way, my battle strength ought to reach the peak of the universe master level. At that time, chances are that I am able to pass the ultimate test. Jian Wushuang clasped his hands, and his sharp eyes emanated horrifying light. Chapter 1175. Observing the star Jade walls again. Chapter 1175. Observing the star Jade walls again. To promote either the speed sword principle or the Yin sword principle to the most powerful level. Then to boost the ancient god power to break through to the 4-star ancient god level. Among these two steps, the second step was relatively simple. The ancient god power in Jian Wushuang's body already reached a limitation, and it wouldn't take long before it to break through to the next level. The key was the first step, the improvement of his sword principles. The Star Jade walls. Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly lit up. He was aware that there were two treasures on Star Island, with one of them being the Star Jade Walls. When he had been trapped on this island a long time ago, he had carefully studied the Star Jade Walls. At that time, they helped him immensely. However, he could not figure out the real mysteries in them because he was too weak. Now, however, his strength had already been improved a lot, so he probably could learn more things from them. He immediately came to the place where the Star Jade Walls were at. He directly walked into the pavilion of Sword Principle among those densely dotted pavilions. As soon as he entered the pavilion, he saw the jade walls on both sides of the hall. There were lifelike patterns carved on the jade walls. Each of them showed a person wielding a long sword to perform a kind of swordsmanship. To the naked eye, the patterns were identical. As a matter of fact, each of them contained an amazing swordsmanship. There were a total of 16 patterns on the jade walls. When I first saw the swordsmanships on the patterns, I felt they were extremely recondite. I wonder how will I feel now? Jian Wushuang smiled. He immediately sat cross-legged in front of one jade wall and began to study the first pattern. There was a middle-aged man who wore a straw rain cape and a bamboo hat on the first pattern. He wielded a long sword and cut a huge lake in half. Surprisingly, though his sword light had split the lake into two, the lake did not ripple. It seemed that there was no force acting on the lake. The greatest benevolence is like water that tackles complicated problems in a very easy manner. His control of this power is really incredible. Jian Wushuang secretly exclaimed. When he saw this picture many years ago, he only felt that this swordsmanship was unfathomable. Without a doubt, it was still abstruse presently. Nonetheless, he could figure out some mysteries from it. Then he began to observe the second pattern. The more patterns he observed, the more shocked he would be. Today, his understanding of sword principles was much deeper than he used to be, so the things he was able to perceive from the swordsmanships increased. That was why he felt so astonished. This swordsmanship's effect is equal to the act of splitting the heavens. One can only perform it after mastering the most powerful sword principle. It's dreamlike and difficult to tell whether it is real or not. How weird it is. Jian Wushuang marveled at it while studying it. Each one of the 16 swordsmanships was so unfathomable that he simply could not master it. Even though he had mastered one most powerful sword principle, he was absolutely unable to display such a horrible swordsmanship. At this point, he shifted his gaze at the ninth pattern. The protagonist of this pattern was also the middle-aged man who wore a straw rain cape and a bamboo hat. He stood at the end of the dark void, and in front of him were several black-robed men. They sent forth an unfathomable aura that Jian Wushuang could not fathom out. The middle-aged man acted at this moment. He wielded his sword with a single hand at a great distance. There was no sword light or sword shadow, but the heads of those black-robed men flew outward quietly. The pattern disappeared immediately. Jian Wushuang's pupils shrank suddenly. That swordsmanship. He immediately began to recall that sword movement. It gave him an unusually odd feeling. It's too fast for me to catch the sword light. Why did those black-robed men die? The middle-aged man just stood where he was without any sign of moving. How could it be so fast? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. It was indeed too fast. It was fast beyond belief. Jian Wushuang had created the speed sword principle and was skilled at speed. If he wielded his sword with all his might, he was confident that common Tao masters were unable to catch his sword light, but he must move close to them. Nevertheless, the middle-aged man in the pattern wielded his sword toward those men in black from a great distance. He killed his opponents at a distance of tens of thousands of miles, but Jian Wushuang could not capture his sword light. How could there be such a swift swordsmanship in the world? Jian Wushuang frowned and was astounded. He continued to observe the 9th pattern. He had carefully studied the previous 8 patterns. Although the swordsmanships on these patterns amazed him, he had not observed them a second time. However, he began to observe the 9th pattern a second time. He still could not figure out anything about it after that, so he watched it a 3rd time, the 4th time, and the 5th time. In just a short moment, he had observed the 9th pattern for a dozen times. Only then did he find something special about it. Spacetime, it's the spacetime. Jian Wushuang looked up suddenly and roared deep in his heart. After carefully watching the 9th pattern for quite a few times, he finally found a slight difference. This difference lied in the spacetime. It appeared to be an ordinary swordsmanship, but it affected the entire spacetime when the sword was struck outward. To be precise, it kept the spacetime from influencing the sword. That's exactly what makes that swordsmanship incredible. Jian Wushuang's eyes were wide open, and his body trembled violently. I understand. I finally understand what overrides speed. It's the spacetime. Speed, be it fast or slow, is restricted by the spacetime. The higher level of the speed sword principle should be the spacetime sword principle. It's not constrained by the spacetime and can exert the speed to the extreme. A flicker of excitement flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. He never understood why the speed sword principle was merely at the creation level, although it was very arcane. He did not know what other power overrode the speed. Nevertheless, when he saw the 9th pattern on the star Jade wall, he finally understood that it was the spacetime. The real perfect speed could only be achieved when it got rid of the restrictions of time and space. That was the most powerful sword principle, spacetime sword principle. Chapter 1176, Spacetime. Chapter 1176, Spacetime. Since Jian Wushuang had found a way to upgrade his speed sword principle to the most powerful level, the following meditation would be much simpler. He closed his eyes before the star Jade wall to recall the scene that the man who wore a straw rain cape wielded his sword to kill those black-robed men in his mind. To be precise, he was recalling the unfathomable and unrestrained swordsmanship. He calmed down and learned it carefully. The space-time was the most mystical power in the world. This kind of power was beyond the reach of human beings and even more difficult for them to grasp. Jian Wushuang was a Tao master who had self-knowledge. Neither did he expect to control the power of space-time, nor did he expect his swordsmanship to completely get rid of the restrictions of the space-time. All he wanted was to upgrade his sword principle to the level that could influence the space-time. Even if it could only exert the slightest influence on the power of space-time, his swordsmanship would undergo a qualitative change. That was the space-time sword principle he had been pursued. Nonetheless, it was easier said than done because this was an incredibly difficult and complex process. Jian Wushuang completely immersed himself in the study of the space-time sword principle. Time passed quickly. In the 138th year after Jian Wushuang had returned to Star Island, his body shook suddenly in front of the star Jade wall. An immense amount of ancient god power surged out and condensed into his mid-brow slowly. Finally, the 4th quadrangular star formed there. He reached the 4-star ancient god level. Immediately after that, his body began to undergo tremendous changes. The 4-star ancient god level rivaled the human celestial master level. Don't forget that Jian Wushuang was an imperial god. Although he just broke through to this level, his ancient god power alone was even more powerful than the power of a celestial master at the exceptional realm. coupled with his spiritual power and the tenfolds of power his blood-killing plate armor executed, he was on a par with a common universe master in terms of power. Previously, he was much inferior to universe masters in this aspect and could only bridge the gap between them relying on some secret skills, treasures, and the power of Tao. Now, however, his power was comparable with that of universe masters. Thus, his overall strength had been enhanced greatly. In the twinkling of an eye, he had returned to Star Island for 300 years. He opened his eyes and looked at the void in front of him. Some strange light could be seen flickering in his eyes. He slowly stretched one of his palms to strike the void. A sword shadow visible to the naked eye dashed out and influenced the surrounding space-time. Although it moved relatively slow, it instantly appeared in that void. Seeing this scene, Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly lit up. Previously, I mastered the speed sword principle and executed this swordsmanship both fast and slow. In that way, I could only create an illusion. Now, I succeed in making the illusion real. Jian Wushuang smiled. He deliberately displayed a slow sword movement just now. Once it affected the space-time and slightly reduced the restrictions that the space-time exercised on the swordsmanship, the sword could move 10 times faster. And if the swordsmanship he performed was extremely fast originally, the speed of the sword could increase by more than 10 times after it affected the space-time. Space-time sword principle. It's the most powerful sword principle. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands, and his eyes were full of excitement. He had meditated in front of the star Jade wall for 300 years, and by learning from the 9th pattern, he finally created the space-time sword principle. As he expected, once the space-time sword principle could exert a little bit influence on the space-time, it was the most powerful sword principle. Since then, after the coalescent sword principle, he created the second most powerful sword principle, space-time sword principle. The space-time is really a kind of incredible power. Combined with my swordsmanship, I have created the most powerful space-time sword principle on the condition that I only knew a little bit about the power of space-time. I cannot imagine how horrifying the space-time sword principle will be after I completely master the Tao of space-time. Jian Wushuang gasped in admiration. He was no longer the young man who didn't know anything before. His horizons had been broadened, and he knew how vast this world was. He was very clear that although he now grasped the space-time sword principle, it was nothing serious compared with the entire space-time Tao. Coalescent sword principle, space-time sword principle. The only one left is the yin-yang sword principle. Jian Wushuang was full of expectations. He had mastered 2 sword principles of the most powerful level, and a sword principle at the creation level. If others had achieved those, they would have started to try to integrate sword principles together and attain the immortal Dharma body to become a celestial master. Nonetheless, he was not in a hurry. He was a man of great ambition. Chances were that his 3 sword principles could all become the most powerful ones. He wanted to integrate them after he had elevated all of them to the most powerful level. Then he could obtain the unprecedented immortal Dharma body in the green fire world. In the eyes of others, this was absolutely a wild wish and something that could not come true, but Jian Wushuang did not think so. He was an inverse cultivator who possessed infinite possibilities. His strongest sword soul was awakened once. This meant he had great potential on sword principles. He had every reason to struggle for that. Even if he failed in the end, he just wasted nothing more than some time. But once he succeeded, how mighty the immortal Dharma body he obtained after integrating 3 strongest sword principles would be: Sunrise Sword Emperor, the one who had the potential to become a leader of the Green Fire Palace, had just integrated two strongest sword principles that enabled him, a celestial master, to fight a universe master head-on and be more powerful than an ordinary universe master. However, he was merely an ordinary cultivator, not an inverse cultivator. Hence, once Jian Wushuang integrated three strongest sword principles, his strength would shock the world. Nevertheless, whether he was able to do that was still something unknown. He had created the second strongest sword principle, and his ancient god power had also been upgraded to the 4-star ancient god level. Furthermore, his overall strength skyrocketed. Apparently, he planned to get through the ultimate test presently. Through Lord Spirit Sound, the news about his plan spread all over Star Island very soon. Dao Master Kong Ming, Dao Master Thousand Water, and several friends of him, along with many warriors, hurried in front of the Black Tower. Blood Mountain, there was still a huge gap waiting for you to bridge the last time you endeavored to pass the ultimate test. But you come here again only after 300 years. Do you have the confidence to succeed? Dao Master Thousand Water frowned and asked him. Chapter 1177, Progress. Chapter 1177, Progress. Many warriors on Star Island looked at Jian Wushuang. For them, 300 years was a short period, so they did not think Jian Wushuang could pass the ultimate test. Jian Wushuang smiled and said, I'm not absolutely certain that I can pass it. It's only because that I've made some breakthroughs over the past 300 years that I come here to give it a shot. I did not expect Lord Spirit Sound to tell you about this. That explains the matter. Dao Master Thousand Water said, You've made the right choice. At least you can know how close you are to pass the ultimate test. Well, everybody, I shall take my leave. Jian Wushuang smiled, and once again stepped into the Black Tower in the eyes of all people here. They were all waiting outside the Black Tower and discussing this matter with each other. Blood Mountain came out very quickly the last time he entered the Black Tower. Obviously, there is still a long way for him to go if he wants to pass the test. Even if he has made some breakthroughs over the past 300 years, he probably won't be able to make it. Yes, it's unrealistic for him to do that, but he should be able to stay a little longer in the Black Tower this time. Yeah, that will be great progress. The longer he stays there, the closer he is to pass the test. Time passed slowly in the midst of their discussions. 10 breaths, 20 breaths, 30 breaths. A half-quarter of an hour passed. However, Jian Wushuang still did not walk out of the Black Tower. This excited all the people present. Jian Wushuang came out of the Black Tower after 2 breaths last time. The longer he stays there, the more likely he will pass the test. Dao Master Thousand Water clenched his hands, and his eyes were burning with excitement. Another half-quarter of an hour passed. Till now, a quarter of an hour had passed. At this point, Jian Wushuang walked out of the Black Tower slowly. Blood Mountain! Blood Mountain! The people waiting outside the Black Tower immediately rushed forward with an expectant look. Sorry, I let you down again. Jian Wushuang forced out a bitter smile. Failed again. Everyone present felt sorry for that, but they were not so upset as they were last time. After all, they witnessed Jian Wushuang's progress. A significant progress. Blood Mountain, you came out after 2 breaths last time you entered the Black Tower, but this time you stayed in the tower for so long. Did you nearly pass the test? Dao Master Thousand Water asked. Everyone else looked at Jian Wushuang with burning eyes. I'll tell you the truth, guys. Jian Wushuang looked around. The ultimate test demands me to defeat a formidable puppet fighter. I couldn't withstand his 2 blows last time I fought with him. This time, my strength skyrocketed, and I was able to compete with him head-on, but I was still at a disadvantage. What matters is that I need to defeat him instead of fighting him. Therefore, there is still a certain gap that lies before me. Jian Wushuang was telling the truth. He had fought hand-to-hand with the puppet fighter who used a giant axe in the Black Tower. Since his strength skyrocketed, the giant axe could no longer exert any pressure on him. Armed with his swordsmanships, he was able to fight that puppet fighter head-on, but he was the underdog. After a fierce battle, he knew he could not pass the test, so he came out of the Black Tower. After the people present heard his words, their eyes sparkled. He was unable to resist 2 blows last time, but he was just at a disadvantage when he fought the puppet fighter head-on this time. How could he achieve such progress over the past 300 years? If he were given another 300 years, probably it's the puppet fighter who will be the underdog. If he makes progress at this rate, he definitely can pass the ultimate test. The warriors on Star Island were thrilled about that. If they had only seen a gleam of hope on Jian Wushuang, then he now represented their best hope. He made the impossible possible. Well, everybody, let's go. Tao Master Thousand Water waved his hand and said, Blood Mountain, just keep cultivating. It's okay if you can pass the test. Don't be eager for quick success and instant benefits. We can wait for you even if you need more time. After finishing speaking, Tao Master Thousand Water and other people departed. Jian Wushuang stood outside the Black Tower and had a strange expression on his face. As I expected, my overall strength is equal to that of a universe master at the peak level after I created the second most powerful sword principle, and my ancient god power reached the 4-star level. However, the puppet fighter in the ultimate test possesses the genuine battle strength of a universe master at the peak level and is more powerful than me. I was at a disadvantage in the fierce battle, let alone defeat him. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He had tried his best to improve his strength over the past 300 years, but there was still a huge gap before he could pass the test. And then, if he wanted to advance his strength by leaps and bounds, it would be extremely difficult. I cannot find any way to improve the Yin-Yang sword principle currently. I have carefully studied the 16 swordsmanships in the Star Jade wall, but did not find any swordsmanship that is similar to it. I don't know how long I have to wait before I can upgrade it. As for secret skills, I cannot promote them either. If there is anything that still has the room for improvement in the short term, that must be swordsmanships. Jian Wushuang's eyes radiated a sliver of light. Swordsmanships. His current swordsmanships were brilliant and powerful. For example, the Heaven's Bane, the Bladed Surge, and the Death Shadow. However, with the improvement of his sword principles, he was qualified to create a more powerful swordsmanship. Moreover, although the 3 sword movements he had created were unique, they only had a single function: attack. If he could create a mightier, more unique sword movement and perfect his swordsmanships, then his overall strength would be improved drastically. Sword principles and swordsmanships are closely connected to each other. Since my sword principles have made a breakthrough, I have to find a way to design a more powerful swordsmanship. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands, and a plan came into his mind. He immediately went to find Lord Spirit Sound. Lord Spirit Sound, there's something that I need your help. Chapter 1178, White-Robed Ying. Chapter 1178, White-Robed Ying. What is it? Lord Spirit Sound inquired. I want to communicate with people outside the stellar fog. See, can I? Jian Wushuang asked. The stellar fog, was isolated from the outside world. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible to communicate with the outer world. You are the disciple of the star bloodline, so you are free to enter and exit the stellar fog sea without being restricted by its restriction. Naturally, you can send messages to outsiders. Lord Spirit Sound replied, "Really? That's simple." Jian Wushuang smiled, and then took out a token. 5 palace masters. He directly sent a message to the 5 palace masters of the Green Fire Palace. Jian Wushuang, what's wrong? Void Temple Master sent a message back. I have just made a breakthrough in sword principles, and I need some manuals about swordsmanships to improve my swordsmanships. Jian Wushuang answered, Manual about swordsmanships. Void Temple Master wore a smile. This is simple. Our palace has been established on this battlefield for 40 million years. Therefore, in the Firepoint Exchange Office, there are plenty of such manuals and quite a few mirror images left by experts who major in sword principles when they perform swordsmanships. Since you need them, I'll sort some out for you. How many fire points? Jian Wushuang asked. No need for fire points, Void Temple Master said. In the Green Fire Palace, palace masters enjoyed special privileges. Ordinary celestial masters need to exchange treasures in the Firepoint Exchange Office with fire points, but as palace masters, we can just take them so long as we need. We can put things that we don't need there as well. You are already one of the palace masters, although we haven't announced the news. You surely can take the treasures in the Firepoint Exchange Office directly. Really? Jian Wushuang smiled helplessly. In this case, thank you for doing me this favor, Void Temple Master. Nothing. Tell me where you are now, and I will send them to you personally in a few days. Void Temple Master said. 3 days later, Void Temple Master had already sorted out the manuals and sent them to Jian Wushuang. It was impossible for Jian Wushuang to meet him on the Stellar Fog Sea. So they met each other in a branch of the Void Temple. Jian Wushuang, I've just casually picked all this out. There are still a lot such manuals if you need more. Void Temple Master said. Enough, enough. Jian Wushuang continually shook his head and was shocked. Void Temple Master had selected a lot of manuals for him, including numerous images on which experts who specialized in sword principles displayed swordsmanships. It would take him thousands of years or even more time if he was going to study them one by one. They were all high-grade manuals about sword principles and were enough for him. After bidding farewell to Void Temple Master, Jian Wushuang returned to Star Island again. He sat cross-legged in the secret chamber and immersed himself in the study of these manuals. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. Jian Wushuang suddenly opened his eyes and slightly knitted his brows. Although these manuals and mirror images inspired me a lot and improved my understanding of swordsmanships, I still lack practice. If I want to create a more powerful swordsmanship, I definitely need to temper myself with fierce battles and time. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists, and his body shocked suddenly. Swoosh! Another original body appeared beside him. When he was pursued by the 4 kings from the Jing kingdom and helplessly entered the Chilly Wind Valley, this original body was destroyed. However, he repaired it after hundreds of years. My first original body just stays here to meditate these manuals and mirror images, and my second original body might as well ventures in the outside world to temper his swordsmanships through battles. Jian Wushuang made up his mind. Go! Jian Wushuang's second original body immediately left Star Island. His second original body transformed into a white-robed middle-aged man who walked on the Void Continent and deliberately suppressed his aura at the Eternal Realm. He traveled around the world with a single sword. Celestial Sword Sect was a first-class force on the Void Continent. It had a profound foundation on the Void Continent and had existed for hundreds of thousands of years. It was well known for its swordsmanships. Countless warriors in this sect had been working hard on swordsmanships over hundreds of thousands of years. The 9-layered sword tower in this sect was very famous in the entire Void continent. It was a cultivation sanctuary for people who cultivated sword principles. One day, a white-robed middle-aged man came to the Celestial Sword sect with a long sword behind his back. "My name is Ying. I heard that the swordsmanships of the Celestial Sword sect are extraordinary, so I pay a visit here especially." The white-robed middle-aged man, Ying, said politely, "Our sect always gives facility to cultivators who major in sword principles. Since you are a sword cultivator, please pass through our swordstone formation first. After that, we'll treat you as a guest, and you are allowed to enter the first 6 floors of the sword tower." An elder of the Celestial Sword sect said, "Please lead the way for me." Following this elder, Ying went into the Celestial Sword sect. On the same day, he easily passed through the swordstone formation and then lived in this sect. He had just stayed there for 1 year, but within this period, he had continually challenged the top 10 guests in this sect and its 6 elders, as well as a vice sect master. The 6 elders and that vice sect master were all Tao masters. Ying only utilized the power of an eternal realm expert to challenge them from the beginning to the end, but all of them were defeated by him. Half a year later, this white-robed middle-aged man came to a lofty castle. "I'm Ying. I heard that Tao Master Tai Xian's cultivation on sword principles is excellent, and your swordsmanships are outstanding, so I come here to ask for advice." The white-robed middle-aged man was still modest and polite. "How dare you, an Eternal Realm rookie, to challenge me? You are digging your grave." Tao Master Tai Xian was furious and directly acted. Ying still fought him with the strength of an Eternal Realm expert. Although he was defeated at last, he withdrew from the battle with composure. On an endless mountain that was covered by snow, there lived a top-rank 3 Tao master who was also skilled at sword principles. The white-robed, middle-aged man, Ying, went to find this Tao master as well. Jian Wushuang had 2 original bodies. His first original body stayed on Star Island to meditate and study manuals about sword principles and such mirror images left by other experts. The other original body transformed into a middle-aged man at the Eternal Realm who named Ying to travel around the world and challenge experts who specialized in sword principles to temper his swordsmanships. Chapter 1179, 1,500 Years. Chapter 1179, 1,500 Years. Time passed slowly, but in the twinkling of an eye, Jian Wushuang had studied in the secret chamber for 1,500 years. The white-robed, middle-aged man, transformed by his another original body, had also traveled in the outside world alone for 1,500 years. Coupled with the days he had stayed on Star Island, it was a total of 1,800 years. It was no big deal for experts in the Green Fire world, but it was quite a long time for Jian Wushuang. It was the longest secluded cultivation that he had experienced since he was born. His another original body finally returned to Star Island. At the top of a lofty pavilion, Jian Wushuang's 2 original bodies stood shoulder to shoulder. After 1,500 years of meditation and experience on swordsmanships, my 2 original bodies have made great progress in swordsmanships, but a period of time is needed to digest what they have learned. Jian Wushuang smiled and immediately integrated his 2 original bodies into one. He sat cross-legged and closed his eyes just at the top of the pavilion, an extremely conspicuous place. He wore a deep smile on the corners of his mouth. It looked unusually fascinating. Look, isn't that Blood Mountain? It's him. What is he doing there? It seems that he is cultivating. Have you noticed the smile on his face? Why did it make me feel so weird? Warriors who passed by the pavilion saw Jian Wushuang, but they did not disturb him. All of them could tell that Jian Wushuang was in an amazing state. Somewhere on Star Island, Lord Spirit Sound and a skinny elder sat face to face. The latter was transformed by Gu King. Gu King came out of Jian Wushuang's body after Jian Wushuang set foot on Star Island and did not go into his ancient god body during this period. At this moment, their eyes penetrated buildings and clearly saw where Jian Wushuang was at. That boy is undergoing metamorphosis. Gu King's pupils shrank. Yes, it's the metamorphosis on swordsmanship's or mental attitude. It seems that he has benefited immensely from years of secluded cultivation. Lord Spirit Sound said, "In this way, he will surely try to go through the ultimate test again after he finishes with his metamorphosis. And this time, the odds that he will succeed should be high. Spirit Sound, I should congratulate you in advance. Finally, there is someone who can pass the ultimate test after you have waited for so many years." Gu King looked at Lord Spirit Sound. "I have stayed on this island for so many years, and I'm tired of living here anymore. If Jian Wushuang really can pass the ultimate test and control the stellar fog sea, then I will be free." Lord Spirit Sound smiled. Apparently, she hoped that Jian Wushuang could pass the ultimate test. "He won't let you down." Gu King replied, smilingly. He had been with Jian Wushuang for so long and had a good understanding of him. He knew how great his potential was. Jian Wushuang alone sat at the top of the pavilion for half a month. Half a month later, he opened his eyes and stood up. "My two original bodies has cultivated for 1,500 years, and my swordsmanships have been greatly improved. Even if I continue to do secluded cultivation, the effect may not be so dramatic. That's not necessary. I can try the ultimate test of Star Island." He immediately went toward the Black Tower. Again, the news that he prepared to pass through the ultimate test spread throughout Star Island by Lord Spirit Sound. Everyone on Star Island was extremely excited. They had witnessed Jian Wushuang's horrible progress 1,500 years ago, and now they believed he must have achieved greater progress. In the Black Tower, in the vast dark void, a burly man carried a giant axe on his back, stood in front of Jian Wushuang. "You are here again?" The burly man glanced at Jian Wushuang. "I was defeated by you the first 2 times, but this time I will defeat you." Jian Wushuang said indifferently, "Oh, you are quite confident." The burly man had a deadpan expression on his face. Although he was a puppet fighter, he had intelligence. He could tell that there was a great difference between the Jian Wushuang in front of him now and the 1,500 years ago. "Let's start." The burly man acted without talking any nonsense. He moved as soon as the giant axe appeared in his hands. Boom! The dark void at his foot cracked instantly. Like a shell, he immediately appeared before Jian Wushuang. Swish! Carrying an immense amount of power, a towering and eye-catching axe shadow flew outward. Apart from its fast speed, its power was also sufficient to make ordinary universe masters tremble. In the previous 2 battles, I suffered losses due to power, but this time, sharp light surged in Jian Wushuang's eyes. The moment he saw the burly man hacking the giant axe toward him, he held the Blood Mountain sword tightly, and surges of power swarmed into the sword. The Blood Mountain sword quivered and suddenly chopped outward. Heaven's Bane! Jian Wushuang let out a roar. It was the Heaven's Bane. After 1,500 years of study and improvement, it was no longer the previous weak sword movement. A sword light dashed out. Although this sword movement was powerful previously, it failed to gather all the power in one place and release all the power in an instant. Now, however, although it did not appear to be so powerful, in fact, it gathered an immense amount of power in one place and could destroy everything. Boom! A loud bang was heard. Jian Wushuang stopped, and the giant axe of that burly man moved backwards due to the impact. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently, and his long sword left his hand at a top speed. A cold sword light swayed the moment it escaped from his hand and influenced the surrounding space-time. It came in front of the burly man in a split second. The burly man waved his big hand and shattered it easily. Bright moon. Jian Wushuang's eyes looked as sharp as a blade. He shook his wrist and hacked out the Blood Mountain sword. A huge bright moon emerged before the burly man. The burly man took a step forward and struck out the axe held by his two hands. The moment the giant axe smashed the bright moon fell apart and formed numerous sword lights shooting toward the burly man. At the same time, Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword turned into a giant black dragon. Chapter 1180, The Swordsmanship named Dawnlight. Chapter 1180, The Swordsmanship named Dawnlight. In dragon power, Jian Wushuang let out a cold snort, and the black dragon transformed by the Blood Mountain sword immediately roared and dashed out. No sooner had the burly man warded off the sword lights all over the sky than the black dragon charged at him. "Get out of my way!" The burly man shouted and hacked the giant axe in his hands outward, quick as a flash. The huge and mighty axe shadow directly tore the black dragon open. However, there was a power hiding in this dragon. It suddenly released and made the burly man take several steps backwards. At this time, Jian Wushuang moved in a strange way and stared at the burly man. All of a sudden, a fierce wind blew. Spell of disturbance. Jian Wushuang continually wielded his sword. Sword shadows, along with the gale, formed a real storm that covered the burly man completely. Innumerable sword shadows attacked the burly man fiercely. All the sword shadows affected the space-time, and thus were incredibly fast. The burly man also tried his best to fend off the sword shadows with his giant axe. Clang, clang, clang. Sounds of collisions were heard continually. The burly man was trapped in the storm of sword shadows and looked terribly bad. Suddenly, Jian Wushuang emerged from the storm, and his eyes radiated with sharp light. Triple waves. Swish, swish, swish. 3 consecutive sword shadows broke free from Jian Wushuang's hands in the blink of an eye. Although they were merely 3 sword shadows, when they combined together, they were more like 3 waves rushing forward in succession. The burly man immediately resisted them. Rat-a-tat, rat-a-tat, rat-a-tat. As 3 deep sounds rang out, the burly man took 3 steps backwards. Every step was at a distance of 10,000 miles and smashed the void below him. After the burly man regained his balance, he looked at Jian Wushuang again. Although he still looked indifferent, there was a trace of horror in his eyes. After fighting with him for a short period, he was able to detect Jian Wushuang's power. Although it was not much better than that of 1,500 years ago, he had made great progress in swordsmanship. It was an immeasurably vast difference. Jian Wushuang himself was stunned as well. It seems that I have underestimated this puppet fighter. Jian Wushuang admired secretly. I have just displayed the swordsmanships that I have created over the years. However, I just barely gained the upper hand. Jian Wushuang executed a lot of swordsmanships right at that moment. All of them were created by himself these years. Among them, the Heaven's Bane, Ying Dragon Power, and Spell of Disturbance acquired a substantial improvement from the original basis. The Ying Dragon Power was the improved version of the Bladed Surge. It contained more than one wave of hidden power and was far more powerful. Likewise, the Spell of Disturbance was the improved version of the Death Shadow and was faster than the Death Shadow. It enabled cultivators to strike out the sword hundreds of times at one go. Each time the sword would influence the spacetime and contain horrifying soul attack power. Nonetheless, the burly man managed to withstand this blow too. The bright moon and triple waves were the swordsmanships that he had lately created. They were also fabulous. The burly man looked at Jian Wushuang surprisedly. Your swordsmanships are much better than before. With such swordsmanships, you totally can have the upper hand in the fierce battle with me, and even suppress me, but they are not sufficient if you want to defeat me. The burly man said in a low voice. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. What he was required to do was to defeat the burly man if he wanted to pass the ultimate test. Though suppression and defeat seemed to be of a similar nature, there was still a huge gap between them. In fact, if this was all Jian Wushuang could do, he still couldn't pass the ultimate test this time. I have already said it before that I will definitely defeat you this time. I never break my word, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. So what other means do you have? The burly man stared at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang smiled and did not deny that. He thought secretly, my two original bodies shared out the work and cooperated with each other over the past 1,500 years. They put all their energy into the study of swordsmanships. Moreover, I have an amazing gift in sword principles, and with the aid of so many manuals and mirror images, I surely have achieved great progress. The most important thing is that I have spent quite a long time to study them. It was his first time to cultivate for such a long time in the secret chamber. For him, this period was enough for a dramatic change to occur on his strength. However, he spent it just to study swordsmanships. So how great the progress he achieved on swordsmanships would be. And of course, this would never be all he could do. My biggest achievement these years is that I have created a sword movement coincidentally. Since I created it at dawn, I named it Dawn Light. Jian Wushuang said gently, Dawn Light. The burly man knitted his brows. Although Jian Wushuang had not acted yet, he had already vaguely felt how exceptional that swordsmanship was. Soon afterwards, Jian Wushuang took actions. He lifted the Blood Mountain sword with a single hand and looked quite casual. Right at that moment, the whole world was caught in complete darkness. There was not a little bit of light, just like the real night. Furthermore, no sound was heard, even the sound of breathing. Horrible silence pervaded there. Jian Wushuang held the long sword with his right hand and had no expression on his face. He struck the long sword outward the very next moment. A flash of dazzling light appeared immediately. It shone brightly above the sky, as if it was the first ray of light at dawn. It stood for infinite hope. When the burly man saw this ray of light, his pupils shrank. Whoosh! Silently, the dawn light came in front of him. His expression changed dramatically, and his power surged out crazily. Quick as a flash, he waved his giant axe outward. He had done his best. However, clang! A sound of metal collision rang out. The giant axe in his hands flew backwards due to the impact, and the dawn light hit him unimpededly. Luckily, he was a puppet fighter. If he was a normal human expert, Even if he was a universe master, his body would fall apart under this impact. Boom! The dawn light swept around crazily with blasts of air. The dark void finally calmed down after quite a long time. Chapter 1181, Disciple of the Star Palace. Chapter 1181, Disciple of the Star Palace. Gu King was sitting with Lord Spirit Sound somewhere in Star Island, a mirror image before them. Naturally, it was that of Jian Wushuang's final test. At the start, both Gu King and Lord Spirit Sound could still remain calm even as they exclaimed in admiration when they saw Jian Wushuang displaying many different types of swordsmanships as he subdued the burly man. Suddenly, however, they saw Jian Wushuang strike with his sword again. It was the dawn light. Gu King and Lord Spirit Sound were stunned as they witnessed the move. That sword move, Lord Spirit Sound said, looking extremely shocked. That kid, Gu King said, his eyes brimming with radiance. If I didn't notice wrongly, the sword move he just made should be a unique skill, exclaimed Lord Spirit Sound in a low tone. It's definitely a unique skill. Even though its power can only be considered as ordinary, it can already be classified as a unique piece of skill, said Gu King as he nodded solemnly. How could a Tao master possibly come up with a unique skill? Asked Lord Spirit Sound, as she wondered how incredible it was. She was aware of how difficult it was to create a unique skill. It took millennia before a unique skill would be created by a celestial or even a universe master, much less a Tao master. How long had Jian Wushuang been cultivating his skills? Only thus far. There are countless universe masters in the eternal chaotic world, and if any of them came up with a unique skill and is moderately capable, he or she could already be considered as peerless. Such invincible universe masters are extremely rare, even in the vast, eternal chaotic world. This kid, however, has come up with a unique skill of his own, Gu King secretly thought in admiration. In the past, I felt that his gift in sword principle was not on the same level as his father, even though he possessed great potential. After all, his father had the sword spirit body and was born to pursue the sword principle. Now it seems that his gift in sword principle is the same as his father, if not greater. His father spent exactly 100,000 years cultivating his skills in the Spacetime secret land, and even so, he only managed to create the dream-chasing sword principle by modifying parts of another piece of unique skill. That move was only borderline unique skill level and could not be considered as such. It's not on the same level as the dawn light that Jian Wushuang has created now. He's a true genius in the sword principle. I've thought too little of him in the past. Gu King thought. He was also shell-shocked. Gu King, to think you even congratulated me previously. It now seems that you should be the one who should be congratulated instead. It seems that you found a good master. The potential of Blood Mountain is limitless, and as long as he doesn't die prematurely, there's a chance that he could achieve the skill levels of your previous owner, King Luozhen. At that time, you will also have a chance of restoring your strength to your peak level, said Lord Spirit Sound. Gu King could not hold in a smile. He felt absolutely blissful. Let's go. We should welcome him back, Lord Spirit Sound added. Jian Wushuang, who was still within the Black Tower, was already slowly sheathing the Blood Mountain sword. The burly man who had been challenging him bowed respectfully, and then went off to the side to wait quietly on his own. Shortly after, a wormhole began appearing within the surrounding black void. Come, Blood Mountain, Lord Spirit Sound's voice traveled into the tower. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and stepped into the wormhole immediately. He saw Lord Spirit Sound and Gu King in his form of a skinny elder in the dimly lit Great Hall. Gu King, you can transform into human form? Asked Jian Wushuang as he looked at the elder in surprise. It was the first time he had seen Gu King in such a form. Humph. All exotic beasts can transform into human form as long as they are capable enough. It's only that most of them are unwilling to. As a plenilune, of course I can do that as well. I just couldn't be bothered to, grunted Gu King coldly. Jian Wushuang laughed, controllably. Congratulations, Blood Mountain. From now on, you're a disciple of the Star Palace, said Lord Spirit Sound. Lord Spirit Sound, my real name is Jian Wushuang. Blood Mountain is just my alias, said Jian Wushuang with a laugh. Alias? That's unimportant. Anyway, it's a fact that you've passed the final test of Star Island. According to rules set up by the creator of the Star Bloodline, I have to give you 3 things. Lord Spirit Sound said. She then drew out 3 items. They were a gray light bead, a token, and a secret skill, respectively. Firstly, Lord Spirit Sound passed the bead to Jian Wushuang, saying, "This gray light bead is the core of the stellar fog sea. All sorts of technique, such as restrictions within the stellar fog sea, is controlled by it. All you have to do is to allow it to recognize you as its owner. You'll then be able to control the entire stellar fog sea." "Oh," exclaimed Jian Wushuang as his eyebrows arched in wonder. Some time back, he had heard Lord Spirit Sound mention that anyone who passed the final test could gain control over the stellar fog sea, and now the lives of those people who were trapped on the island were in his hands. Jian Wushuang immediately began cultivating his control over the sea. It went extremely smoothly, and it took only a while for him to master it. He also came to understand everything about the stellar fog sea, including some of its secrets, for example, what sort of restrictions it could impose, what unique spots there were, and even what sort of treasures were in it. "How can the stellar fog sea benefit me?" Jian Wushuang asked as he frowned slightly. "Our founder used it to pick his disciples, and it doesn't serve many purposes aside from that. By giving you control over the stellar fog sea, the founder wants to make it easier for you to get some of the treasures in the sea. Things such as the Star Jade Wall, and the 12 secret skills can only be handled after you have control over it," said Lord Spirit Sound. "From now onwards, how you handle the stellar fog sea is entirely up to you. You can bring it along with you, and use it to imprison anyone that is not to your liking during your travels in the eternal chaotic world. If you don't want to do that, you can also leave it in this world. I have the Blood Mountain Sword, and it already grants me the ability to suppress. As such, I don't need the stellar fog sea. Let it remain here. The Star Island shall continue to exist. I will also not shift the opportunities in it away. Leave them to future practitioners," said Jian Wushuang with a slight smile. "Aside, I will also remove all fog and restrictions from the island, allowing everyone to have a chance to benefit from the opportunities within it. You're the owner of Star Island now, and can do as you see fit," said Lord Spirit Sound with a laugh. She then brought the token before Jian Wushuang. Chapter 1182, Secret Skill of the Stars. Chapter 1182, Secret Skill of the Stars. "You should already be familiar with this token," said Lord Spirit Sound as she looked at him. "This is the token carried by disciples of the Star Palace, right?" replied Jian Wushuang with a laugh. When he first became an ordinary disciple of the Star Bloodline, he also received a similar token. It had many stars in it, and it also contained an extremely unique and strong aura. However, this token was obviously more precious than that of an ordinary disciple. After Jian Wushuang received the token, Lord Spirit Sound passed the secret skill to him. "Jian Wushuang, this is the secret skill of the stars, a technique left behind by our founder which only disciples from the Star Bloodline have a right to learn. This secret skill is one of the most powerful and valuable in our sect," said Lord Spirit Sound, her tone turning serious. "Secret skill of the stars?" asked Jian Wushuang, his eyes gleaming. "The sect took its name from the stars. As such, one could only imagine how important the secret skill of the stars was to it. What sort of secret skill is this? Jian Wushuang thought. Jian Wushuang was feeling a little expectant as his soul power surged into the skill. Information came flowing toward him instantly. What's this? Jian Wushuang asked as he opened his eyes wide. He was completely in shock after browsing through the message about the secret skill. It was an extremely terrible skill, and it could even be considered as one that was against the natural order. This secret skill focuses the power of the stars and merges it with one's spiritual power. In this way, one's offensive power will greatly increase in a short period of time. The skill is divided into 3 scrolls. The first scroll will increase one's power tenfold and lasts for a couple dozen seconds. The second volume can improve one's power by 100 times for 2 to 3 seconds. The third volume can improve one's power by 1,000 times for a strike. The simple introduction completely rocked Jian Wushuang's world. He had mastered similar skills before in the past that could directly increase his power instantly. For example, the Star River secret skill of the ancient god clan. That said, the Star River secret skill was a technique that just served to amplify his power. Once he had mastered it, the skill would passively increase his power even without him making any strikes. In the eternal chaotic world, this kind of power-amplifying technique is very common. All experts there have mastered some sort of similar technique. It was very common for them to increase their strength by even 100 times. It was also due to the popular usage of such skills that it did not bring many benefits to experts during a duel. But this secret skill of the stars was different. It was a terrible technique that gathered the power of the stars and combined it with the user's power, causing the user's attacks to undergo a total transformation. In nature, it was somewhat similar to the Divine Yin Thunder technique that Jian Wushuang was practicing. The Divine Yin Thunder technique, however, would not increase much of Jian Wushuang's overall power even if he completed mastery of it, just by learning the first scroll of the secret skill of the stars. On the other hand, the Divine Yin Thunder technique could increase his power tenfold. This was 10 times we are talking about, thought Jian Wushuang. The offensive power of an ordinary universe master would be on par, or even greater than that of a peak-level universe if he or she managed to increase it tenfold. It was beyond Jian Wushuang's wildest dreams that the second and third scrolls could increase his power by 100 and 1,000 times respectively. The flaw of the secret technique was that it lasted for only a very short duration when used. The power from the first scroll could last for a couple dozen seconds, a considerably longer time. The power from the second and third scrolls, however, could only last for 2 to 3 seconds and 1 blow respectively. The greater the power generated by this secret skill of the stars, the shorter it lasts, thought Jian Wushuang as he nodded. He could accept this fact, as the benefits of the technique far outweighed its flaws. "What do you think, Jian Wushuang?" asked Lord Spirit Sound as she looked toward him. "It's really a terrible technique," Jian Wushuang replied as he clenched his fists tightly, his eyes glowing. "Start practicing here. Both the Gu King and I will be your guardians," said Lord Spirit Sound. "I'm also aware the power of the stars gathered by using this secret skill is a unique form of power. I may be plenilune and have great regeneration skills, but even I could not replenish such energy," said the Gu King. "Does this mean that even if I master the first scroll, I can only use it for a couple dozen seconds no matter what?" asked Jian Wushuang with a frown. "Yes," replied Lord Spirit Sound with a nod. "Besides, you'll have to replenish whatever energy from the stars you've used up, and this process takes time. Before you replenish your store of energy, you won't be able to use this secret skill." Hearing this, Jian Wushuang could not help but feel surprised. This secret skill of the stars is indeed fearsome, and its benefits can even be considered as incredible. However, there are many restrictions for using this technique. Jian Wushuang thought. Jian Wushuang, you're now only at Tao Master level. Even by inverse cultivation, you'll at most only be able to master the first scroll, and even barely. As for the second scroll, don't even think about it for now, Lord Spirit Sound said. It'll already be great if I can master the first scroll, laughed Jian Wushuang, feeling satisfied. By mastering the first scroll of the secret skill of the stars, he would have a trump card that would grant him the ability to unleash 10 times his original power in a duration of a couple dozen seconds. Start practicing here. Both the Gu King and I will be your guardians, said Lord Spirit Sound. Right, replied Jian Wushuang with a nod. He immediately sat cross-legged within the palace hall and began practicing the secret skill of the stars. Just as Jian Wushuang was practicing his newly acquired secret technique, something was going on in the Green Fire Palace. A white-haired old elder was sitting alone with perfect posture before a chess set, cracking his head as to how to make his next move. But suddenly, muttered the elder as his expression changed. He stood up suddenly, a look of surprise in his gaze. Palace Masters. The white-haired old man immediately summoned the 5 palace masters. They gathered in the majestic palace, the white-haired elder standing to their side, a look of worry on his face. Look, palace masters. An image appeared immediately in front of him with a wave of his hand. The image showed a vast black portion of the void. It was situated at the perimeter of the battlefield, but surprisingly, a huge portal was there without their knowledge. In the portal, they could vaguely make out an ancient spaceship. Upon seeing this, the expressions of the 5 palace masters changed as well. The thing that the Green Fire Palace was most worried about has finally happened. Chapter 1183, Swift Return. Chapter 1183, Swift Return. Jian Wushuang had already opened his eyes. Is this the power of the stars? Jian Wushuang asked. He could feel an extremely unique power coursing through his body. It was from the first scroll of the secret skill of the stars, and it took him 10 years to accumulate that amount of power. It took me 10 years just to accumulate this little bit of power from the stars. Furthermore, I'll only be able to use it for a duration equivalent to a couple dozen seconds. Does it mean to say that after I use it, I'll have to wait 10 more years to be able to use the same ability again? And this is just the power from the first scroll to boot, thought Jian Wushuang, secretly amazed. He would only be able to use the power gleaned from practicing the first scroll once every 10 years. As for power from the second scroll, he would need even more to cultivate and accumulate it, and the interval between each use would also be lengthier. Jian Wushuang guessed that it would take centuries or even millennia before he could utilize power from the second scroll for a second time. Just as he got up, he sensed something. A burly figure appeared directly in front of him. "Master," the figure said respectfully. The burly figure was carrying a giant axe. Jian Wushuang realized that it was the same figure that he had fought against during his final test. After Jian Wushuang assumed command over the Stellar Fog Sea, all of its resources were left to his control, including all of its treasures. Even though there were many treasures within the Stellar Fog Sea, they were actually just little trinkets left behind by the creator of the Star Bloodline, and Jian Wushuang was not exactly in awe of them. After all, he had seen those in the Fire Points exchange office of the Green Fire Palace before. Jian Wushuang did not think too highly of the treasures within the Stellar Fog Sea, as even though there were some of them that were more precious, none of them could be of any practical aid to him. The only one which made him feel pleasantly surprised to own was the burly figure in front of him. The burly man was actually a puppet fighter, and he was the strongest of his kind in the stellar fog sea. His strength was on par with a peak-level universe master. "Did you ever have a name?" questioned Jian Wushuang. "I'm known as Fu Yi," the burly man replied. "Fu Yi," replied Jian Wushuang as he nodded slightly. "From now on, you'll follow me around." "Yes," said the burly man with the utmost respect. "Lord Spirit Sound," shouted Jian Wushuang again. "The Gu King," and she immediately appeared before Jian Wushuang. "Since I've cultivated the secret skill of the stars, I might as well go to see them in Star Island. They must be eager to see me," said Jian Wushuang with a laugh. In the next moment, Jian Wushuang and Lord Spirit Sound appeared on the tallest pavilion in Star Island. "Gather around, everyone," said Jian Wushuang casually. His voice, however, spread to all corners of the island. All of the warriors on the island heard him and came running toward the pavilion. In a short span, many people had gathered at the foot of the pavilion. Several of Jian Wushuang's buddies, including Tao Masters Kongming and Thousand Water, were also amongst the crowd, and they looked at him and gazed at him with uncontrollable passion. As early as 10 years ago, they had already learned of the news that Jian Wushuang had passed the final test. They had waited 10 years for him while he practiced the secret skill of the stars. These people were not concerned about the long wait. As long as Jian Wushuang was willing to let them go free, it was enough for them. "Everyone, now that the stellar fog sea is under my control, I hereby declare that all resources on Star Island will be open for public use from this point onward. Those of you who wish to stay behind are more than welcome to continue your meditation. As for those that wish to leave," with a wave of his hand, a space wormhole appeared in the void beside Jian Wushuang. "This space wormhole will lead you outside of the stellar fog sea. You can use it to leave this place," said Jian Wushuang with a laugh. Hearing these words, the crowd below immediately became excited, and all of them were exultant. They have been trapped on Star Island for a long time and were treated like prisoners. Many of them had already become twisted and deranged from being held captive for such a long time. They had also lost all hope of escape. Now, finally, they could leave this accursed place. Ecstasy. Each of them felt an unprecedented ecstasy. They were also grateful to Jian Wushuang at the same time. "Blood Mountain! Blood Mountain!" The crowd below looked fervently at Jian Wushuang. They felt that he had done them a huge favor by releasing them from captivity after completing his final test. Seeing the scene below, Jian Wushuang only gave off a faint smile. Just then, "Jian Wushuang!" A message was sent directly to him, and it came from the Samsara Temple Master, one of the 5 great palace masters of the Green Fire Palace. The content of the message was very direct. It contained only 2 words: "Return quickly." Jian Wushuang's expression immediately turned serious after he received the message. "The 5 palace masters allowed me to roam freely on my own, as long as I did not easily reveal my identity. They promised that they would not ask me to return to the palace before I had the capability to become its leader unless something big happened. Now, something must have happened." Jian Wushuang clenched his fists tightly, his gaze extremely chilly. Immediately, Jian Wushuang had an urge to leave the Star Island. "Lord Spirit Sound," Jian Wushuang said, "I have something urgent to attend to and must leave immediately." "Oh," she asked, her expression changing. "I've already shut down all restrictions from the stellar fog sea. From now on, Star Island will no longer remain in isolation from the outside world. Anyone with the requisite strength can come here to seek for opportunities," Jian Wushuang explained. "As for you, Lord Spirit Sound, you can remain behind if you want to. If you do, control over the island will still be retained by you. If not, you can always feel free to leave." I've gotten sick of Star Island after staying here for so many years. Now that I have a rare opportunity to leave, I'm definitely not going to remain behind. Why don't we do it this way? My original body will leave the stellar god sea to enjoy in other worlds, while my doppelganger will remain on Star Island and help you take care of it, said Lord Spirit Sound. Then I shall trouble you to do exactly that, replied Jian Wushuang gratefully. Immediately, Jian Wushuang left the stellar fog sea with the Gu King and Fu Yi. The Green Fire Palace, he thought. He had left the palace quietly to avoid anyone noticing, and now he was returning in the same manner. Within the towering halls, several Green Fire Palace masters, including Jian Wushuang, had gathered together. There was also a white-haired elder who was present. Holy Master Cloud asked Jian Wushuang in surprise as he looked at the elder. Jian Wushuang recognized the old man. He was a very ancient holy master, and he had come from a time long before anyone currently in the Green Fire Palace. Even the Samsara and Void Temple masters were younger than him. Chapter 1184, Change in Situation. Chapter 1184, Change in Situation. Holy Master Cloud was born at the most ancient time when the Green Fire world had just been created. Before, Jian Wushuang had only heard of this most ancient holy master, and it was the first time he had actually laid eyes on him. Are you Jian Wushuang? Holy Master Cloud cast a friendly gaze toward Jian Wushuang. Not long ago, I hear that you've died. I was still privately mourning your death, but now I see that you're all right. I believe that the people of the Gold Kingdom will be pulling their hair out when they know that you're still alive. You're too kind, Holy Master Cloud, said Jian Wushuang, seeming somewhat humble. Well, since the 6 Green Fire Palace masters are present, let's talk business, said the Samsara Temple master, his tone extremely serious. What happened, Palace masters? Asked Jian Wushuang with a frown. Jian Wushuang, you're our trump card, and ordinarily I wouldn't disrupt you from practice, but this incident concerns the survival of the Green Fire Palace and perhaps even the entire Green Fire world, replied the Samsara Temple master solemnly. It's that serious that it concerns our survival, thought Jian Wushuang, secretly shocked. Look, Jian Wushuang, said Holy Master Cloud as he gently waved his hands. An image immediately appeared in the void at the middle of the temple hall. It showed a vast, black void with a huge portal. An ancient spaceship was traveling in the portal. What's this? Asked Jian Wushuang in surprise as he studied the image. This shows the void surrounding this battlefield and beyond the Green Fire world, replied Holy Master Cloud in a low tone. The void surrounding this battlefield? Jian Wushuang asked, his eyes turning chilly. There's a portal there, and there's also a spaceship flying toward us. Could it be that there's another force arriving in the eternal chaos world? Jian Wushuang knew that 3 batches of experts from other worlds had descended upon this battlefield after the birth of the Green Fire world. The first 2 batches of intruders were discovered and wiped out in time by the experts from the Green Fire Palace. The 3rd batch was the Gold Kingdom. Now, from the scene depicted in the image, there seemed to be another force arriving at the borders of the Green Fire world again. Another force, said the Samsara Temple master as he shook his head slowly. Jian Wushuang, maybe you don't know yet, but the space-time of the battlefield we're on is extremely unique. It's actually a huge space-time vortex. Space-time vortex? Jian Wushuang was extremely alarmed. Could it be that the battlefield we're on is wrapped within a huge space-time vortex? That's right, said the Samsara Temple master with a nod. It's a vortex of considerable size, but the Green Fire world, this battlefield included, have not been in danger, so far even though we're inside it. Such vortexes are extremely frightening, and experts from the eternal chaos world have tried to avoid it all along. Who would court death by trying to charge through it? It's also the same reason that for all these years, very few people have come to this battlefield. The last few huge forces, the Gold Kingdom included, stumbled into the vortex by accident and arrived at the battlefield after somehow managing to survive. So that's what happened, said Jian Wushuang as he understood. No wonder the eternal chaotic world knew nothing about such a huge and valuable battlefield floating around here even after so many years. No real expert has even come here before. So, it turned out that this battlefield is situated within a space-time vortex. To the people of the eternal chaotic world, to encounter such vortexes would be akin to facing a natural disaster. Who would take the risk to go into one of his or her own accord? He thought. This vortex is akin to a protective umbrella for the green fire world. We could dominate this battlefield for so long because of it. Furthermore, many generations of experts from the Green Fire Palace have put in much effort and paid the price to integrate a huge formation in the void surrounding this battlefield into the vortex. This formation has been a pillar of support for the Green Fire Palace. Because of its existence, we can have real-time information once anyone steps into the battlefield, and we can get rid of him or her before he or she can even send out any message. It's also because of its existence that experts from the Green Fire world can leave the vortex to seek their fortune elsewhere. Now, the spaceship you see in this image has bypassed the need to reach this battlefield via the vortex by creating a portal between the void there and the outside world, said the Samsara Temple Master with a serious expression on his face. To achieve this feat, not only does the person or people involved have to be extremely powerful and have access to many resources, most importantly, someone on their side has to set up a formation within the void to receive them. An inside job, said Jian Wushuang, momentarily stunned. He realized who it was in the next instant. However, it's the Gold Kingdom. A few palace masters together with Holy Master Cloud all had ugly expressions on their faces. It was definitely not the work of an expert from the Green Fire Palace. None of them would spend so much effort and sacrifice so much to bring in force from the eternal chaotic world into the battlefield. As such, the perpetrators could only be the experts from the Gold Kingdom. That is to say, the spaceship is carrying reinforcements from the Gold Kingdom, said Jian Wushuang in a low tone. Yes, but to be more exact, they're the main body of the Gold Kingdom, replied the Samsara Temple Master. The main body? Asked Jian Wushuang, perturbed. The Gold Kingdom is a major force that has gained a firm foothold in the eternal chaotic world. Their monarch is a grand expert who has already surpassed universe master level and achieved leader level, explained the Samsara Temple Master in a low voice. 5 million years ago, the experts of the Gold Kingdom came to our world, but they accidentally arrived at this huge battlefield after going into the space-time vortex. After their arrival, their experts realized that this battlefield was a huge treasure chest and tried all means to destroy our Green Fire world so that they could have it all for themselves. Luckily, there were not too many of them, and even though we didn't manage to achieve a decisive victory in the life and death struggle with them, we still managed to withstand their attack. Now, however, the main body of their army is arriving on that spaceship. This battlefield is extremely valuable, and I bet the Gold Kingdom will send out many experts to secure it. It's a possibility that even their monarch could be coming himself. It's a crisis of unprecedented scale for the Green Fire world, and our biggest fear. We hoped that the Gold Kingdom would never be able to pinpoint our location after 5 million years, or that even if they did, the space-time vortex would serve as a deterrent. But who knows? Sigh, our greatest nightmare is finally upon us. Chapter 1185, Pre-emptive Strike. Chapter 1185, Pre-emptive Strike. The expression on Jian Wushuang's face turned exceptionally ugly after he heard, what the Samsara Temple Master had to say. Jian Wushuang, if what the Temple Master says is true, then the Green Fire Palace alone would be hard-pressed to withstand the main body of the Gold Kingdom. The Gu King's voice rang out in Jian Wushuang's head. No one in the Green Fire Palace is a match for the monarch of the Gold Kingdom. Just him alone could destroy all the experts in the palace. Jian Wushuang's figure trembled. The Samsara Temple Master's right. This drastic turn of events would decide the survival of the entire Green Fire world. Is there really no way for the Green Fire world to resist? Everyone? Jian Wushuang asked in a low tone. A way to resist? Of course, there is, replied the Samsara Temple Master in a chilly tone. 5 million years ago, then the experts of the Gold Kingdom came upon our land, and their combined might was much more than ours on paper. We gathered every able soul in the Green Fire world and managed to hold their attack off. Even though the situation this time is much more critical than the previous one, we still have a chance of survival. We need to work together. And if the entire Green Fire world unites, we still have a hope of surviving this crisis. The Temple Master's speech led a few who were present to nod. The experts who were gathered presently represented the upper echelon of the Green Fire world's combatants. And if even they had no confidence of winning, then the entire Green Fire world would have scant hope of surviving the onslaught of their enemies. The spaceship carrying the main body of the Gold Kingdom is still within the portal. The Green Fire Palace will set up a huge formation of experts there, and they will do everything in their power to hold up its advance. Even though they can't possibly hope to stop it, they can delay its advance for at least dozens of years, maybe even for centuries. This will buy us some precious time to prepare, said the Samsara Temple Master in a low tone. In addition, I've also come up with a plan after discussing with a few palace masters. I've called you over, Jian Wushuang, in hopes that you'll take part in it. Plan? What plan? Asked Jian Wushuang. The plan is for us to strike preemptively before the main body of the Gold Kingdom even arrives. We'll wipe out all of their remaining power and foundations left behind by the Gold Kingdom from this battlefield, the Samsara Temple Master said in an icy tone. Preemptive strike. Jian Wushuang was shocked at first, but soon nodded solemnly in agreement as well. Indeed, if the main body of the Gold Kingdom could link up with their experts wandering in the battlefield and make use of the foundations set up by them, there would be no way of stopping them. If all those foundations were destroyed, however, it would inconvenience the main body when it struck. Just by destroying all the space wormholes, those special pockets of land that were controlled by the Gold Kingdom scattered all over the battlefield would seriously limit their movement. The plan is sound, but it will not be easy to implement. Even though many experts from the Gold Kingdom who remained behind on this battlefield have been killed in fights with our Green Fire Palace, there are still quite a few strong ones left. There are even a few universe masters from the Gold Kingdom here, and their strength is much greater than our own experts, said Jian Wushuang solemnly. Furthermore, the Gold Kingdom has even set up a base on this battlefield and placed many restrictive formations on it. If we wish to completely remove all of their foundations, we have to charge right into their base. How hard do you suppose that will be? We've discussed all these concerns of yours previously, the Tang Emperor said. The combined might of the Gold Kingdom that is currently in this battlefield is indeed no weaker than us, if not stronger. That, however, was when we were still not willing to fight to the death. Jian Wushuang, you think too little of the Green Fire Palace. We've been existing on this battlefield for more than 40 million years. How could the Gold Kingdom's history of a mere 5 million years compare to ours? Placing other matters aside, just the battle strength of our universe masters itself is already much stronger than that of the Gold Kingdom. What? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. He knew that the Gold Kingdom had 9 great universe masters in the past, and also peak universe master-level experts like the Red Snow King. The Green Fire Palace, on the other hand, only had 5 universe masters. So how could the Tang Emperor claim that their battle strength was higher than that of the Gold Kingdom? Jian Wushuang thought. "Look, Jian Wushuang," said the Void Temple Master with a laugh. He then waved, and a man wearing a scarlet suit of armor appeared. "And this is—" Jian Wushuang said as he looked in surprise at the man in scarlet armor. He then immediately realized the figure's identity. "A puppet fighter?" Jian Wushuang asked, getting excited. "And a puppet fighter at Universe Master level to boot." "Yes, this is a puppet fighter at Universe Master level," replied the Void Temple Master with a faint smile. "The Green Fire Palace has exactly 5 of such puppet fighters." Jian Wushuang's eyes immediately lit up. He could sense that the puppet fighter only possessed the battle strength of an ordinary puppet fighter. Compared to Fu Yi, the puppet fighter at peak universe master level he obtained from the Star Island, it was much less capable. Even so, it meant that the Green Fire Palace had the addition of an equivalent to 5 universe masters to their ranks. The battle strength of the universe masters of the Green Fire Palace has always been stronger than that of the Gold Kingdom. Furthermore, Heaven Shadow King was killed in the process of chasing after you. We also killed one of their universe masters by using the Celestial Master Golden Axe as bait. This resulted in the battle strength of our universe masters being much more than theirs. "As for those formations in their base, we'll find a way to break them," said the Samsara Temple Master with a chilling laugh. "Before, we did not have much confidence to completely eradicate all influence of the Gold Kingdom from this battlefield, and had held ourselves back. We didn't dare to openly declare war. Now, however, in such a time of crisis, even if we aren't completely sure of ourselves, we have to act. The Gold Kingdom has forced our hand. Before the main body of the Gold Kingdom descends upon us, we have to find a way to get rid of their remnant forces in this battlefield. We have to destroy all of their remaining experts and even the foundations left behind by them." The desire to kill of everyone present was roused to a fervor by the Temple Master's speech. None of them would hold back when faced with such a hated enemy as the forces of the Gold Kingdom. This time, we only have one chance to accomplish our objectives. We can't allow the Gold Kingdom any time to react. As such, we have to give it our best shot. Jian Wushuang, you're a Green Fire Palace Master and possess Universe Master battle strength. You should join us, the Samsara Temple Master said, as he gazed at Jian Wushuang. "No problem," replied Jian Wushuang with a solemn nod. He gripped his palms tightly as well. None of the palace masters, including Jian Wushuang, needed much time to prepare. Very shortly, they set off for their destination. Chapter 1186, Peak Universe Master. Chapter 1186, Peak Universe Master. On a wasteland in the battlefield, something was going on. Jian Wushuang, the Tang Emperor, Sunrise Sword Emperor, and the Void Temple Master were waiting patiently there. Before long, the Samsara and Red Lotus Palace Masters had arrived as well. Both of them had been wandering about in the battlefield. Previously, only their consciousnesses were present in the meeting at the Green Fire Palace. Now, they had come in person. "All here." The Samsara Temple Master surveyed their surroundings before speaking up. "This time, all 6 of us Green Fire Palace Masters will strike in unison. I've also brought the 5 Universe Master level puppet fighters along with me. We definitely can crush the Gold Kingdom's base in one blow and kill all of their experts." "Right," replied the other palace masters as they nodded seriously. The Green Fire Palace had come prepared for today's battle. After all, The palace masters had wanted to get rid of their enemy's base for a long time now, but they did not have any good opportunities to make use of. Jian Wushuang, the Void Temple Master, said as he looked toward him, "When you left the Green Fire Palace 1,800 years ago, you were already at Universe Master level. After all this time, with your talent, I believe that your skills have improved again, haven't they?" The other 4 palace masters also looked at Jian Wushuang. "I did make some improvements," replied Jian Wushuang with a solemn nod. "I believe I'm on par with the Red Snow King now." "What?" the 5 palace masters exclaimed, taken aback with shock. Jian Wushuang had made the remark casually, but it had stirred the emotions of the palace masters greatly. The Red Snow King possessed peak universe master battle strength, and amongst the 5 of them, only the Samsara Temple Master was confident of being able to handle him. Jian Wushuang only possessed the skills of an ordinary universe master 1,800 years ago. After only such a short period of time, he now has the battle strength of a peak-level universe master. How is this possible? They thought. Jian Wushuang, are you saying that you are already on the same level as the Red Snow King now? Asked the Samsara Temple Master, a hint of doubt in his voice. Yes, Jian Wushuang replied, nodding gravely. This made the 5 palace masters even more surprised. Kid, I'm afraid you're not very or of the true strength of the Red Snow King. You just fought once with him on the battlefield, and he should have reserved some of his power that time. If he unleashes all of it, he would be stronger than any of us 4, the Tang Emperor said. I'm not too sure if he held back during that fight, but I've absolute confidence that I can match him currently. The outcome of a fight between us now will be hard to predict, replied Jian Wushuang solemnly. Oh, you're that confident, remarked the Tang Emperor, a strange look appearing on his face. He knew Jian Wushuang fairly well and understood that he was not prone to talking big. If he was so confident, it was probable that he indeed possessed that kind of strength. If that were the case, his rate of improvement was incredible. Jian Wushuang, since you're that confident, why don't the 2 of us have a friendly duel right now? What do the rest of you think? The Samsara Temple Master began asking. That's good. We can objectively gauge Jian Wushuang's real strength in this way too, said Red Lotus. She was the first to agree. She had absolute faith in his word. Even though we're about to move against the Gold Kingdom, there's no hurry. I want to witness a test of skills between both of you, agreed the Sunrise Sword Emperor as well. The Void Temple Master and Tang Emperor also nodded readily. How about you, Jian Wushuang? Asked the Samsara Temple Master as he looked toward him. Since you're personally inviting me to a friendly duel, Samsara Temple Master, I'll not refuse naturally, replied Jian Wushuang with a slight smile. He knew that the palace masters had agreed with the temple master because they were somewhat doubtful over his current strength. He was not irritated by this fact. Please, Samsara Temple Master, said Jian Wushuang with a small laugh. The Blood Mountain sword was already in his hand. Be careful, replied the Samsara Temple Master with a light laugh as well. A black flame soon appeared above his palm. The fearsome heat generated by the black flame instantly turned the surrounding void to ashes. Jian Wushuang could also acutely feel the terrible power of the flame. Boom! The Samsara Temple Master took the initiative to strike first. With a huge stride, he appeared before Jian Wushuang. He formed a fist with his right hand and used it to strike at Jian Wushuang. Of course, it was also completely engulfed in black flames. It was a simple and unsophisticated strike, but the power contained in it could give an ordinary universe master the chills. Jian Wushuang's eyes gleamed as power surged into his arm, the might of the Blood Mountain sword also increasing. Heaven's Bane. Jian Wushuang unleashed the brutal Heaven's Bane, and his sword smashed directly into the Samsara Temple Master's fist. Bang! There was a huge sound as a huge wave of black flames began spreading toward the perimeter, instantly turning the void into a sea of fire. The Samsara Temple Master stumbled and was knocked backward by the impact of the blow. He took a while to stabilize himself. Samsara Temple Master, I've already said that my current battle strength is no weaker than that of the Red Snow King. You don't have to hold back, said Jian Wushuang with a laugh. He could see that the Samsara Temple Master was holding back, perhaps in fear of injuring him. Samsara, you'll have to be careful. From the last blow, I can see that Jian Wushuang's strength is not much lesser than yours. You have to be on guard, or else you'll lose. Red Lotus teased. Samsara, unleash your full might, suggested the Sunrise Sword Emperor as well. Ha! Now it seems as though I've been too arrogant. Since that's the case, I'll give it my best shot now, said the Samsara Temple Master as he laughed loudly. At the same time, a jet black glove had covered his hand. Boom! He struck again, but this time with his palm instead of fist. Likewise, it was entirely covered with black flames, and it came crashing down upon Jian Wushuang's head like a huge black cloud. The corners of Jian Wushuang's lip curled up, and he responded instantly with a chilly sword shadow. It pierced into the heart of the black cloud, the center of the Samsara Temple Master's palm. The huge power of the black cloud dissipated instantly. You neutralized my move so easily, said the Samsara Temple Master with a look of surprise. Suddenly, Jian Wushuang struck again. This time, his move was hard to fathom, and it looked extremely casual. It looked like a simple move, but when it shot out, it disrupted space-time and instantaneously appeared in front of the Samsara Temple Master. It's very quick. The Samsara Temple Master stared at the strike. This move, exclaimed the Sunrise Sword Emperor as his pupils shrank violently. As a universe master-level expert that was most accustomed to using the sword, he realized that Jian Wushuang's move could affect space-time. How could any form of swordsmanship affect space-time? The Sunrise Sword Emperor could not help but marvel. Bam! The black flames covering the Samsara Temple Master moved and formed into a fiery dragon that wrapped around Jian Wushuang's strike, causing the sword essence to completely dissolve. Jian Wushuang took a huge stride, coming before the Samsara Temple Master. Chapter 1187, Restriction, Removing Pearl. Chapter 1187, Restriction Removing Pearl. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Countless rays of sword light shot forth from Jian Wushuang's hands. Each of them was as quick as lightning, and all of them were extremely powerful. They came bursting toward the Samsara Temple Master, one after the other, with great momentum. He used both hands this time. The black flames covering him increased once more, and even though he managed to block all of the strikes, he was scrambling to do so. That's about it. Stop now, said the Tang Emperor. Jian Wushuang stopped striking with his sword, and his figure retreated to the side. It was only now that the Samsara Temple Master managed to catch his breath, but a smile appeared on his face. Ha! He laughed in an extremely carefree manner. The other 4 palace masters also began laughing. Samsara, this time, you've been humiliated this time. Red Lotus teased. Wasn't I? Before, I was still worried that Jian Wushuang was being a little egotistical and held back. Now, it's obvious that I was the egotistical one, laughed the Samsara Temple Master. Since Jian Wushuang managed to force you into such a state, it's without a doubt that he's already at peak universe master level and much stronger than any of the 4 of us, said the Void Temple Master. He gave the Sunrise Sword Emperor a weird look and said, Sunrise, I'm afraid that you won't be able to keep your title of #1 sword cultivator in the green fire world. The Sunrise Sword Emperor laughed bitterly. I knew long ago that Jian Wushuang had incredibly great talent in swordsmanship. In the past, I wished to have a friendly duel with him when he reached Celestial Master level, but who would have expected him to surpass me in terms of strength when he's just at Dao Master level? He said. That said, the stronger he is, and the more he defies the natural order, the greater the help he can give to the Green Fire Palace. He continued, clenching his fists. Indeed, the other palace masters nodded seriously. Jian Wushuang, the Samsara Temple Master, said as he looked toward him, "You're only second to me in terms of strength now in the Green Fire Palace. I'm afraid even I won't be your match for long." Jian Wushuang felt emotional. From the Samsara Temple Master's voice, Jian Wushuang knew that he was still confident that he was stronger for now. The Samsara Temple Master is the eldest palace master in the Green Fire Palace, and his strength had always been unfathomable. Even though I had the slight upper hand just now, it was because he had held back. Furthermore, I believe that as a palace master, he must have many treasures, but during our duel, he only used a chaos magic treasure, level glove. He must still have many tricks up his sleeve, thought Jian Wushuang secretly. Of course, Jian Wushuang had also not used his entire repertoire of skills. He had not displayed the entire range of his swordsmanship. He did not use his most powerful move, that which was created by himself. To think that you would have such incredible progress during such a short span of 1,800 years. I'm now 100% sure that you can become the leader of the Green Fire Palace. It's a pity that the Green Fire world can't afford to wait for you to mature gradually, said the Samsara Temple Master with a light sigh. The other palace masters also felt a chill. Indeed, judging from the current situation, there was already no room for Jian Wushuang to cultivate his skills alone and slowly improve like before. The main body of the Gold Kingdom's army was arriving, and war would soon break out. If the Green Fire Palace lost, the entire Green Fire world would continue to exist only in history books. No matter what, the Green Fire Palace must win this battle, said Jian Wushuang as he clenched both fists tightly. Yes, we must, agreed the other 5 palace masters as they nodded readily. All right, all preparations have been made. Let's set off now, the Samsara Temple Master said. Immediately, all 6 palace masters, Jian Wushuang included, set forth for the base of the Gold Kingdom within the battlefield. They arrived at the Void there a few days later. Is that where their base is? Asked Jian Wushuang as he squinted. Before him was a district shrouded in purple haze. It was huge, and Jian Wushuang's soul power could not penetrate the thick haze. Evidently, the Gold Kingdom had planted some formidable restrictive wards in the area. How could we hope to break into an area with such restrictions? Asked Jian Wushuang with a frown. Of course there's a way to do that. You just watch, said the Void Temple Master with a slight grin. He then took out a transparent pearl. The pearl contained a mysterious gray energy, and one could vaguely notice a faint thunderbolt dancing within it. It gave off an aura of destruction. What's this? Asked Jian Wushuang doubtfully. This is a restriction removing pearl. It's especially used to break formations or remove restrictions. Many years ago, experts from our Green Fire Palace chanced upon a few of them when wandering about the battlefield. This is the first time that we're using them, though, said the Void Temple Master with a laugh. Upon hearing about the pearls, the Gu King also spoke up. This restriction removing pearl is a real gem. In the eternal chaotic world, it could directly break through normal formations or restrictions. Even though the formation surrounding the base of the Gold Kingdom is formidable, I doubt that it could withstand the onslaught of these pearls. If I didn't guess wrong, I believe the Void Temple Master has a few of them with him. There are plenty of good things in this battlefield, Jian Wushuang pondered secretly. We shall all move according to plan, said the Samsara Temple Master in a chilling tone. When the restriction removal pearl is thrown out and breaks through all the restrictive formations, I, along with Void, the Tang and Sunrise Sword Emperors, will bring the 5 puppet fighters and charge directly into their nest to begin the slaughter. Red Lotus, you'll remain here and unleash your skill of the Jiu realms, thereby suppressing the enemy experts in sync with our attack. At the same time, you'll prevent our enemies from escaping. Right, replied Red Lotus with a solemn nod. She then subconsciously touched the blood-red bracelet she was wearing. It was an extremely valuable piece of treasure. Jian Wushuang, the Samsara Temple Master, continued as he turned his gaze toward him. You're extremely strong and only second to me. Furthermore, you're skilled in swordcraft and possess extremely great speed. You'll hide amongst the darkness and deliver the final blow. Strike once you've found the perfect opportunity and deal the most damage you can to the Gold Kingdom. It would be great if you can kill 1 or 2 of their universe masters in one blow. Understood, replied Jian Wushuang. His gaze had turned cold, and the killing intent was raging within himself. Everyone, today's battle concerns the survival of our green fire world. If we wipe out the Gold Kingdom's foundations today, when its main body arrives, we still stand a chance. If we fail, the green fire world will be doomed. We can't afford to lose this battle and let that chance of survival slip from our hands, the Samsara Temple Master said in a low tone. We have to win this battle. Victory! Jian Wushuang and the others roared. Let's strike, the Samsara Temple Master growled, and the Void Temple Master, who was beside him, tossed the restriction-removing pearl in his hand toward the district shrouded in purple haze. The pearl shot into the haze, and instantly a piercing glow emerged like a sun emerging. An earth-shattering, terrible explosion soon followed. Boom! It was as though heaven and earth had split apart. After the explosion, the purple haze covering the perimeter of the Gold Kingdom's base began dispersing to the surrounding area. Chapter 1188, Outbreak of War. Chapter 1188, Outbreak of War. Within the base of the Gold Kingdom, in the palace that was the deepest inside, the red-headed, cold-looking, and young Red Snow King had gathered with a few universe masters. Red Snow King, have you recovered from our injury? Asked the Golden Rock King. Right, replied the Red Snow King with a slight nod. His eyes, however, shone brightly. That Jian Wushuang is indeed vicious. Previously, the 4 kings of the Gold Kingdom had tried to assassinate Jian Wushuang, and he led them into Chilly Wind Valley, knowing that he would die one way or the other. The blood-cold wind then erupted, and the Red Snow King managed to escape with his life, but he was seriously injured. Over the years, he had remained in seclusion as he healed. It was only recently that he had completely recovered from his injuries. It just so happens that the arrival of the main body of our army coincides with my recovery, he said. He licked his lips, a vicious look flashing across his eyes. The universe masters beside him were also stirred. They had waited far too long for this day. 5 million years. I've waited on this battlefield for 5 million years, and now I'll finally get to see His Majesty in person. Ha ha! When he arrives with the main body of our army, they'll surely be able to wipe out the Green Fire Palace and the entire Green Fire world completely. This huge battlefield will then fall into the hands of our Gold Kingdom. This day has finally come. All of the universe masters all glowed with excitement, and they growled continuously. They had been wandering in this battlefield for 5 million years and were extremely aware of how precious this battlefield could be. Unluckily, the presence of the Green Fire Palace severely restricted their movements. As such, they had long wanted to wipe their enemies completely out. That said, they did not have the capability to do so. They tried once 5 million years before and failed. After that failure, the Gold Kingdom had not given up trying to take over the battlefield. Their monarch had led the main body of their army toward this place exactly 5 million years ago. The location of the battlefield was far too unique, and the monarch of the Gold Kingdom expended much effort to lock in on it. He then spent many long years and sacrificed a lot before finally opening a portal to the battlefield with the inside help of the Red Snow King and gang. If it were not for the unique geography of the battlefield, he would have arrived long ago. All these years, I've been waiting on this battlefield and laid the foundations for His Majesty to lead our army here. This battle will be very different from the previous hastily planned one. This time, we are adequately prepared, and with these foundations along with the arrival of our monarch and more experts, the Green Fire Palace won't stand a chance. Our Gold Kingdom will definitely win this battle. The Red Snow King roared emotionally. The Universe Masters were also prepared and were waiting for the main body of their army to arrive. But at this moment, boom, then came the sound of a terrible explosion. Instantly afterward, the entire base of the Jian Kingdom began shaking, and the Red Snow King and the other Universe Masters immediately noticed the tremors. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Multiple figures rose into the sky and appeared in the void above the base. The Red Snow King stood in their center, his expression turning extremely chilly as he surveyed the scene in front of them. How could the surrounding restrictive formations be broken? He asked as his pupils shrank suddenly. The main body of their army was about to arrive, but at this moment, the restrictive formations surrounding their base in the battlefield were broken. It's the Green Fire Palace. They are going all in and want to destroy our foundations in this battlefield. The Red Snow King was immediately enlightened. As expected, after the restrictions were removed, exposing the Jian Kingdom's base, many figures with strong aura appeared in the void before them. The figures could be seen charging toward the Red Snow King and the other experts of the Jian Kingdom. The figures consisted of the Samsara and Void Temple Masters, the Tang and Sunrise Sword Emperors, as well as the 5 Universe Master-level puppet fighters. Exactly 9 enemies at Universe Master level were charging directly toward the Red Snow King and gang. Are you guys staking the survival of your world on this attack? Do you think it'll be so easy? Stop them! He roared. A scarlet long spear appeared in his hand, a terrible aura emanating from it. He was the first from the Jian Kingdom's camp to move. The other 7 great Universe Masters, including the Golden Rock and Heaven Illusion Kings, followed closely behind. A huge battle broke out instantly. The Samsara Temple Master wore a jet black set of armor. It covered his entire body, and even his face, except for a slit which allowed him to see. A murderous aura was emanating from it. He had transformed into an exceptionally fearsome beast, and he even had a jet black tail that was as sharp as a knife. Black flames covered his body, and he clashed with the Red Snow King in an instant. "Smash him!" the Red Snow King shouted. His eyes gleamed as he flicked his wrist, the long spear in his hand flying out toward his enemy. Snowflakes started falling in the void surrounding them, but they were strangely blood-red in color. The entire district turned bone-chillingly cold. "Humph!" the Samsara Temple Master grunted coldly. As his body expanded, suddenly, he charged fiercely directly toward the long spear, like a fearsome beast with complete disregard for his own safety. Bam! The collision caused the Red Snow King's weapon to bend into a weird shape. The momentum of the Samsara Temple Master only slowed down partially, and he continued to smash into the Red Snow King. The Red Snow King grunted. During this time, the Samsara Temple Master had already lifted his palm. Swish! He clawed with a frightening speed at his opponent, and it easily sliced the void surrounding them apart. The Red Snow King shook, and his scarlet spear shot out into the void like a venomous coiled snake, appearing before his opponent's claw. Clang! The weapon collided with the Temple Master's palm. "Get lost!" the Samsara Temple Master exclaimed angrily. His razor-sharp black tail swung forth and slashed at the Red Snow King's face. The Red Snow King was caught surprised and could try to fend off the blow, but placing his long spear before his chest. Bang! The Red Snow King trembled and transformed into flowing light, shooting backward. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. In a short period of time, the Red Snow King, who had charged fiercely toward his opponents earlier on, was already forced to retreat. Jian Wushuang was secretly surprised as he observed the fight in the shadows. As expected, the Red Snow King's still alive, and it looks like he has returned to peak strength. Even so, he is still obviously much weaker than the Samsara Temple Master. Chapter 1189, Jian Wushuang Strikes. Chapter 1189, Jian Wushuang Strikes. Jian Wushuang could not help but be awestruck. It was obvious that the Samsara Temple Master had held back by a lot during their friendly duel. Now he was showing his true strength. The Red Snow King was of peak universe master strength, but the disparity in terms of strength between himself and the Samsara Temple Master was very obvious. He was knocked backward in an instant. The Samsara Temple Master's armor is definitely not anything ordinary. I guess it's about as powerful as your blood-killing plate armor. Furthermore, he's a universe master and could bring out more of his armor's power as compared to you, said the Gu King. Jian Wushuang was extremely clear. He could only utilize the first stage of his blood-killing plate armor's power. It had a total of 3 stages. The Samsara Temple Master could naturally draw out more power from his own armor than Jian Wushuang. While the Samsara Temple Master was engaging the Red Snow King, the other universe masters and puppet fighters of the Green Fire Palace had all found their own opponents. In addition, Red Lotus, who remained at the extreme perimeter of the battlefield, had also struck. "I'm unleashing the skill of the Jiu realms," she said. The accessory on her arm instantly gave off a blood-red glow, and a huge blood-colored river came gushing out. It surged toward the surrounding with great force, covering the entire battlefield in an instant. The Jian Kingdom experts were soon all caught in its flow, their expressions changing. "Pressure!" Red Lotus growled. She released the terrible power of the river onto her opponents, and it came onto them with huge force. The fearsome pressure caused the weaker holy masters in the Jian Kingdom's camp to give off terrible cries as their torsos were ripped apart from the force. Even those holy masters amongst them who were somewhat stronger were on the verge of collapsing and in danger of being pounded into mush. "This is not good. It's a realm. Be careful." All of the universe masters from the Gold Kingdom wore serious expressions on their faces. Even experts at their level would have their strength reduced by nearly 20% if they were caught in the river flow. Such a strong realm, thought Jian Wushuang secretly. In terms of power, I'm afraid Red Lotus skill of the Jiu realms is even stronger than the Blaze Quicksand Gourd I obtained before, he thought. The power of her Jiu realm skill is indeed not bad, but it's still weaker than that of the Blaze Quicksand Gourd. You feel this way because you were too weak to properly unleash the gourd's true power. The Gu King's voice rang out. Putting you aside, I suspect that even most of the Green Fire Palace masters can unleash its full power. It's also due to this reason that they would rather use other treasures and leave the gourd at the Firepoint Exchange office. Is that so? Jian Wushuang asked, feeling enlightened. All of a sudden, on the battlefield, a green haze began spreading. It formed a huge realm, thereby competing with the Bloody River. Even though it was losing the battle, the Jian Kingdom experts were less tied down with its aid. Could it be that there are realm treasures in the Jian Kingdom as well? Also, it seems that they are treasures of high value, thought Jian Wushuang. He could follow this line of thought, but he also felt his emotions stirring. The Green Fire Palace possessed far more treasures than the Jian Kingdom due to its far longer existence in the battlefield. That said, the latter had arrived on the battlefield 5 million years ago, and as such, its experts would not surprisingly have obtained realm treasures. To think that you people from the Green Fire Palace have even utilized your universe master-level puppet fighters. Seems like you guys are hell-bent on destroying the foundations our Jian Kingdom has laid on this battlefield, regardless of the consequences. The Red Snow King said in an icy tone as he held his spear in one hand, countless blood-red snowflakes falling behind him. Humph! Don't any of you from the Jian Kingdom think of escaping today, the Samsara Temple Master said, his booming voice projecting out from his black armor. As he spoke, he was already flying out toward his enemies. You wish to subdue all of us with only such strength. What a joke, scoffed the Red Snow King. He was feeling entirely unafraid. In terms of battle strength of their universe masters, the Green Fire Palace was indeed much stronger than the Jian Kingdom, and the former did indeed have a great advantage over its opponents with the aid of the Jiu realm. That said, it was merely an advantage, and it was indeed still wishful thinking on the Samsara Temple Master's part for his side to be able to completely wipe out the experts of the Jian Kingdom. At this moment, Jian Wushuang, who had remained concealed all this while, was prepared to strike. I need to secure victory for us the moment I strike, he thought. I need to kill one or more universe masters from the Jian Kingdom instantly before they even have time to react. Jian Wushuang licked his lips and fixed his icy stare on one area of the unfolding battle. 2 universe masters of the Jian Kingdom were gathered there. Jian Wushuang was extremely familiar with them. They were the Golden Rock King and the Heaven Illusion King. Both of them had tried to assassinate him on the battlefield earlier. I shall attack these two, he thought. There was a flash of killing intent in his gaze as his figure began slowly drifting toward their location. Both the Golden Rock and Heaven Illusion Kings were joining forces in a battle against the Void Temple Master. Amongst the other Green Fire Palace Masters, only the Samsara Temple Master's battle strength was higher than that of the Void Temple Master. The latter was close to peak Universe Master level, and both the Golden Rock and Heaven Illusion Kings could barely manage to hold him at bay even after joining forces. Most of the time the Void Temple Master held the upper hand. Destroy! He was wielding 2 gold discs, and one of them was colored white while the other black. He tossed both of them out at the same time. The discs collided with the Golden Rock and Heaven Illusion Kings. The former was the stronger of the two, but he still could not help continuously stumbling backward. As for his comrade, the Heaven Illusion King, she literally flew backward from the impact. Just then, a chilling sword light was forming. It was extremely dazzling, and it affected the surrounding space-time as it shot out. Instantly, it appeared before the Golden Rock King. Be careful, Golden Rock King, the Heaven Illusion King roared in surprise from a distance away. What? The Golden Rock King asked, his expression changing drastically. The sword light was too fast and caught him by surprise. As such, he did not have any time to react. Who could have unleashed such a swift sword light? The Sunrise Sword Emperor. No, he was on another part of the battlefield and could not have suddenly appeared here. Who was it then? Could there still be experts from the Green Fire Palace concealed in this battlefield? The Golden Rock King's mind was racing. His body, however, did not have enough time to react, and he could only stare at the sword light coming towards his head. Chi! The sword light shot past. The Golden Rock King's head instantly detached from his neck and flew a distance away. The first casualty, who was of Universe Master level, was the Golden Rock King. Chapter 1190, Utter Defeat. Oh, Chapter 1190, Utter Defeat. How could this happen? The Heaven Illusion King's eyes were wide open, and her body trembled slightly. The Golden Rock King was killed right in front of her, but she did not even notice who was the assailant. Suddenly, a cold sword light formed again, and this time it came straight for her. The instant she saw the sword light, she also noticed clearly who her opponent was. He was a young man in a blood-red robe, and his looks were extremely familiar to her. Shouldn't this person already have been killed 1,800 years ago? How did he appear here again? Impossible. Impossible. Jian Wushuang, how could it be you? She gave off a shrill cry, and even though she was shaken up, she had no plans to die as her comrade did. An exquisite aquamarine pagoda appeared behind her, and her eyes began to give off a strange glow. It could charm. Ridiculous. The Heaven Illusion King was most skilled in illusion skills, and they could be classified as consciousness attacks. That said, however, her attacks were but a joke to Jian Wushuang, who had already lit up his soul fire. Jian Wushuang's figure was unimpeded by the attack and appeared before the Heaven Illusion King, appearing to have not been hindered by it. "Now's my turn," he said coldly. He then unleashed the sword move that he had prepared. Spell of Disturbance. A strong gust of wind shot toward the Heaven Illusion King. A sword shadow was in the gust of wind. It grew into the size of a storm, entirely engulfing the Heaven Illusion King. Before Jian Wushuang had even unleashed his swordsmanship, a fearsome soul attack was already upon the Heaven Illusion King. She was caught surprised, leading to her consciousness being disrupted for a short while. Even though the pause was negligible, her actions were now a little slower, and she was helpless to fend off Jian Wushuang's move. As the sword essence storm raged on, the Heaven Illusion King's corpse was left behind. A second Universe Master was killed. What? Golden Rock King, Heaven Illusion King, It's him. Both kings were killed by him. Everyone at the scene witnessed the deaths of the two Universe Masters, and naturally, all color had left the experts from the Jian Kingdom. The two deceased kings were considered as stronger amongst the Universe Masters of the Jian Kingdom, yet they were killed in an instant. Furthermore, they did not even have time to react. How strong was their assailant? Jian Wushuang. The Red Snow King stared at Jian Wushuang, a hint of disbelief in his voice. Jian Wushuang. He's the Jian Wushuang. Wasn't he supposed to be dead? How is he still alive? Even if he's alive, how did he manage to increase his strength by this much? Angry and shocked voices rang out. The experts of the Jian Kingdom were indeed extremely shocked. 1,800 years ago, the Red Snow, Golden Rock, Heaven Illusion, and Heaven Shadow Kings had combined forces to assassinate Jian Wushuang. They paid a heavy price for it, and the Heaven Shadow King even lost his life, but they had at least accomplished their goal. Jian Wushuang was indeed struck dead that time. But if he was, how could he be appearing before them now? So who was this young man in the blood-red robes who had cut down two of their Universe Masters so quickly? Bastard, to think you're still alive, growled the Red Snow King, an unprecedented level of rage in his eyes. I'm sorry to have disappointed you, replied Jian Wushuang with a cold smile. The Red Snow King was shaken. He had personally seen Jian Wushuang enter Chilly Wind Valley and smashed to bits by the blood-cold wind. Logically, he should have remained dead, but here he was all in one piece. Moreover, his strength had obviously increased greatly over such a short span of time. The other Green Fire Palace masters were feeling completely assured, the exact opposite of their opponents. "Haha, good one, Jian Wushuang. Well done. Humph. Now that 2 of the Jin Kingdom's universe masters have been killed, I want to see what they can come up with next." "Kill!" the Samsara Temple Master roared. His eyes were red, and he gave off a terrible killing intent as he attacked again. "Kill! Kill them all!" The other palace masters, Jian Wushuang included, were on a rampage, and they began slaughtering the enemy experts. Before Jian Wushuang struck, the Jin Kingdom experts could still somewhat manage to fend off the attacks of the palace masters, even though they were at the losing end of the battle. Now, however, things were largely different after the death of 2 of their universe masters and the entry of Jian Wushuang into the battle. "Die!" Jian Wushuang exclaimed. He appeared phantom-like before another universe master of the Jin Kingdom and engulfed him with another sword essence storm. That's not good. The expressions of a few other universe masters of the Jin Kingdom changed drastically. Just moments ago, they had personally witnessed the Heaven Illusion King being killed by the same move. Now, it was this universe master's turn. PSSSH, PSSSH, PSSSH. Sword lights flew out one after the other. And the universe master, whose battle strength was comparable to the Golden Rock King, could only manage to fend off 2 blows while under Jian Wushuang's soul attack. The 3rd blow pierced through his throat. At the moment, Jian Wushuang had already cut down 3 universe masters. Damn! That boy! Those were universe masters, yet he could kill them almost instantly. Too strong, he's too strong. Run, run! The experts from the Jin Kingdom were utterly defeated. They were crumbling. The few kings that were still alive were all scared listless as they saw how easily Jian Wushuang cut down their comrades. None of them dared to continue fighting. He had really cut them down with unfathomable speed. They died instantly without being able to defend themselves at all. It was even more frightening than the Samsara Temple Master's attacks. Even though the Temple Master was strong and could kill ordinary universe masters as well, even he could not do so in such a casual and quick fashion. Jian Wushuang, on the other hand, was a sword cultivator and a master swordsman of death. No universe master of an ordinary level could hope to withstand the extremely swift space-time sword principle and soul attack that he had created. Slaughter. At the moment, Jian Wushuang was slaughtering the enemy experts with abandon. It did not matter what level they were. He showed no mercy and killed them all. The other palace masters and puppet fighters also slaughtered their enemies mercilessly. The battle was completely one-sided. Chapter 1191, Luring the Soul. Chapter 1191, Luring the Soul. Run! Quick, run! The Jin Kingdom experts began fleeing frantically. This place was the former capital of the Jin Kingdom, coupled with the fact that the main forces of the kingdom were about to arrive. The kingdom had gathered the celestial masters, who was already on the battlefield here. However, it seemed as if they had set up themselves to seize by the Green Fire Palace in one fell swoop. These celestial masters did not even have the right to put up a fight. They could merely flee frantically. Unfortunately, it was difficult for them to do, so as they were in the ruddy-faced Jiu's domain. Thus, a large amount of celestial masters was mercilessly slaughtered. Damn it! Red Snow King's face was icy cold as he emitted a roar. Out of the blue, a pitch-black tail that was like a saber came sweeping at him at lightning speed. He immediately scrambled to defend himself, but Samsara Temple Master suddenly bellowed. The sound carried a terrifying sound wave that attacked him. Crash! The low sound of collision resounded, and Red Snow King's body flew out. While being flung away, he spewed blood from his mouth. Red Snow King, I've told you that I won't let even one of you Jian Kingdom experts here today escape. Samsara Temple Master's cold voice reverberated in the air. Instead of getting angry, Red Snow King laughed and replied, "You won't let even one of us escape? Don't you think you're too confident in yourselves? Did you really think you'll be able to ruin the foundation of our Jian Kingdom on this battlefield with a couple of palace masters, Jian Wushuang, and several puppet fighters? What a joke! Since you're all here today, don't even dream of escaping." Red Snow King was seeing red, his gaze carrying a boundless killing intent. The several palace masters of Green Fire Palace and Jian Wushuang could not help frowning after hearing his words. What kind of trouble could Red Snow King cause now that the situation had reached its current state and all the experts in the old Jian Kingdom capital had escaped? Humph! Following a harumph, Red Snow King waved his hand, and a sturdy figure immediately appeared in the void beside him. This sturdy figure was evidently a puppet fighter that bore no vitality or aura whatsoever. Moreover, it ought to be one at the Universe Master level. However, Red Snow King would not be able to change the current situation even if he could produce puppet fighters at the 3rd or 4th level, let alone a single one at the Universe Master level. Could it be? The pupils of Samsara Temple Master, Void Temple Master, and the others rapidly shrank. They came to realize there was something Red Snow King could do. Per their expectations, they saw him taking out a jade bottle and poured the drop of blood essence on the puppet fighter. Then a simple and unsophisticated aura slowly began to rise out of the puppet fighter. Oh no! Damn it! The expressions of Samsara Temple Master, Void Temple Master, and the others changed. They already knew what Red Snow King was attempting to do. Soul luring. This is a soul luring tactic. Gu King's solemn voice reverberated in Jian Wushuang's heart. Soul luring? What's soul luring? Jian Wushuang immediately asked. Soul luring is a rather strange tactic from the eternal chaotic world. The user will imbue a shred of his consciousness into a drop of essence blood, and then use his secret skill on a puppet fighter or some other vessel. One will have to pay a great price for using this tactic. In fact, the stronger one is, the steeper the price, Gu King replied. What you're seeing right now is an example of soul luring. The drop of essence blood contained a shred of consciousness. I believe it to be the monarch of Jian Kingdom's consciousness. Monarch of Jian Kingdom's consciousness. Jian Wushuang was stunned. Even though it's just a shred of consciousness, it contains the memories of the monarch of Jian Kingdom. In other words, the shred of consciousness could unleash the secret skills he knows, including the Tao that he founded and the unique moves that he created through the puppet fighter. Gu King continued. However, this puppet fighter is only in the Universe Master level. That means whatever skills the monarch of Jian Kingdom uses will only contain the force of half a Universe Master level. I see, Jian Wushuang said, finally understanding the situation. Sure enough, the pupils of the puppet fighter that was completely still earlier began shifting around after the soul-luring ceremony. It was now alive. Your Highness! Red Snow King immediately kowtowed to the puppet fighter. The puppet fighter ignored him and turned to look at the palace masters of the Green Fire Palace. Knowing that my army is about to arrive, you all decided to take the first initiative and destroy all our foundation here. Your palace masters are pretty smart, aren't they? Courageous too, said a cold, hoarse voice. The faces of Samsara Temple Master, Void Temple Master, Emperor of Tang, Emperor of the Rising Sun Sword, and Red Lotus Darkened. They had once seen this scene 5 million years ago. In the war between the Jian Kingdom and the Green Fire Palace, the former had used this exact same soul-luring skill to place a shred of their monarch's consciousness in a puppet fighter. The Green Fire Palace had to pay a steep price and exerted great effort before they could defeat the puppet fighter imbued with the monarch of Jian Kingdom's consciousness. Would history repeat itself today? This is troublesome, Samsara Temple Master muttered. Even though the basic strength of Monarch of Jian Kingdom's consciousness was only at the ordinary Universe Master, his realm was above the Universe Master level. The last time we fought, you people had to use all sorts of tricks and sacrifice 2 of your Universe Masters to defeat a shred of my consciousness. I wonder what price you'll have to pay this time, the Monarch of Jian Kingdom said, smiling faintly at them. Samsara, what should we do? The palace masters of the Green Fire Palace were already gathered in the same spot. What to do? What can we do? The voice of Samsara Temple Master was cold. Since things have come to this point, our only choice is to kill him. Kill me? Hee, how audacious. The monarch of Jian Kingdom sneered. His eyes turned steely, and in the next second, he was already charging at them. Kaboom! The aura of Samsara Temple Master surged violently as black flames flared from within his body. Carrying an endlessly tyrannical aura, he appeared in front of the monarch of Jian Kingdom. Underneath his black armor, his face had thoroughly contorted into a warped expression. His strength was at its peak. The palm that was covered in black armor was like a legendary rain-summoning dragon as he suddenly threw it outward. Black ripples emerged out of nowhere as explosions rang out. The 9 ripples revolved around Samsara Temple Master's palm. His palm suddenly exploded with the power of millions of thunderbolts. 9th-fold heaven, Samsara seal. Kaboom! It was an earth-shattering skill. This was the most powerful, unique move of Samsara Temple Master in his many years of fame. It was also a skill that he executed with all of his strength.